Chapter 1360. Gloom. The cry of an eagle resounded throughout the world. A huge eagle was obstructed by a ray of seven-colored light. The seven-colored light seemed to have divine power as it forcefully pushed the eagle back. The eagle's body covered the sky, but it was unable to resist the seven-colored light in terms of strength. The eagle's body was charred all over, and its originally plump wings were now a mess, with all its feathers falling off. Within the seven-colored light, a figure flickered in and out of existence. He raised his hand and gently pushed the eagle. The eagle's huge body was immediately sent flying, rubbing against the air. Its body also ignited like a meteorite moving at high speed. However, before the eagle could stabilize its body, the light figure moved again. He raised his hands high and chanted something. In an instant, the entire blue sky turned golden. Then, a huge hand suddenly reached out from the golden sky and directly grabbed at the eagle. The eagle immediately flapped its wings, stirring up a terrifying gust of wind that blew towards it. However, when the terrifying gust of wind swept out from its wings, it only blew away the thick layer of clouds in the sky. It did not stop the giant palm from descending. The clouds gradually dispersed, and a terrifying giant that was almost as tall as the sky appeared in the eagle's vision. The giant hand was coming, and there was nowhere to escape. Dharma world! Finally, an angry cry came out from the eagle's mouth. Then its body rapidly expanded, and its strength also became terrifying. In the blink of an eye, its size surpassed that of the giant. Even if the giant's hand touched the eagle, it couldn't move it in the slightest. Instead, the eagle opened its big mouth and directly bit the giant's head. Then, with a pull, it tore off the giant's head. The giant's spell had been broken, but the light figure naturally had far more tricks up his sleeve. He shook his arm again, as if he was about to activate some other spell. However, the eagle had no intention of tangling with him. It directly returned its body to its original size, turned around, and flew into the distance. It was actually trying to escape. The entire celestial realm is under my control. Escape? Where can you escape to? The light figure murmured. The silhouette murmured. Suddenly, its body flashed, and it instantly appeared in front of the fleeing eagle. The eagle's reaction wasn't slow. The huge feathers on its body stood up and flew out in unison, shooting toward the light shadow like bullets. However, after the light shadow appeared, two fish appeared around its body and swam quickly around it. Its wings attacked, but they were all eaten by the fish. Not a single feather touched the light shadow at all. Instead, the two fish grew larger and larger. In just a short moment, the two fish were already the size of a small mountain. Their scales were erected, and their mouths were full of sharp teeth. They were extremely ferocious. After they formed, they ferociously pounced towards the eagle. Minor Dharma idol. The eagle took a few steps back and transformed into its human form. With a flick of its fingers, it quickly formed a seal, and two clouds of mist appeared in front of it. The mist directly condensed into two vigorous eagles. Although they weren't as large as before, they were still very majestic. After the chi-condensed eagle appeared, it directly stretched out its sharp claws to grab the two swimming fish. However, the two swimming fish weren't ordinary. They seemed to have absorbed the power contained in the wings, which was extremely shocking. They directly bit the eagle's claws and fought with it, but they weren't at a disadvantage. The fight between the swimming fish and the eagle was especially fierce. Sometimes, the four of them would fly into the sky, and sometimes they would sink to the bottom of the clouds. Although the swimming fish had the upper hand, the eagle wasn't to be outdone and fought back desperately. It was difficult to determine the victor in a short period of time. The light shadow didn't pay attention to the battle between the swimming fish and the eagle. Instead, it directly formed a seal and loudly chanted a strange incantation. If I want you to live, you will live. If I want you to die, nothing in this world can keep you. He raised his hand, and a mysterious black light flickered on his fingertip, as if it was the source of the world's darkness. With a swoosh, the black light shot out an iron chain, directly binding the leg of the giant eagle, and dragged its huge body towards the light shadow's fingertip. The man continued to struggle, but to no avail. He immediately revealed his original body and transformed into the eagle that covered the sky. He flapped his wings, wanting to break free, but the light shadow didn't move at all. The strange iron chain also didn't show any signs of trembling. It continued to drag his huge body towards the darkness. The situation was precarious. The eagle screeched and suddenly spat out a pearl, smashing it towards the light shadow. The pearl flew very slowly, but it was firm. No matter how much immortal chi or divine power the light shadow urged, it couldn't stop its advance. The light shadow frowned. If it wanted to dodge, it wouldn't be able to control the iron chain, and the eagle would be able to escape. If it didn't dodge, it wouldn't know what this pearl was and how powerful it was. After thinking about it, the light shadow finally chose to dodge. He retracted his finger, and, as if he had teleported, he landed thousands of miles away. The eagle also broke free and flew backwards. Almost at the same time, the pearl exploded. It didn't produce any earth-shattering explosion. Instead, with it as the center, the space within a radius of tens of thousands of miles was completely distorted. As the space distorted, an irresistible suction force was produced. Space whirlpool. The light shadow couldn't help but retreat. Looking at the huge, distorted space, his expression was extremely ugly. If it hit his body, it wouldn't feel good either. And looking at the strength of the space whirlpool, it would probably take tens of thousands of years for the distorted space to recover. He looked into the distance. The light shadow's eyes suddenly turned snow-white, and there were waves of cold light flashing in them. Although the divine Eagle Clan leader had already fled hundreds of thousands of miles away, he still caught sight of him. The light shadow snorted and was about to chase after him. But the moment he moved, he suddenly stopped. "Lord Head!" An anxious voice came from behind. The celestial court head immediately turned around and looked at the person who came. It was none other than sword god Yi Xiao. "I asked you to chase after those divine Eagle Clan members who escaped. How's your progress? Did you kill them?" The president said coldly. "The speed of the divine Eagle Clan is extremely fast. This subordinate did not catch up to them, but the people of the true demon realm are still chasing after them. They're all injured. I believe they won't be able to escape far, and catching up to them is only a matter of time. But right now, there are more important things that we need to do." The sword god said seriously. "What is it?" The light figure frowned. "The Immortal Court has sent news that the headquarters of the Immortal Court has been attacked by the people of the true devil realm. The other party has a lot of people, and the person leading them is the sect leader of the Immortal Seeking sect, Su Yun. If we do not return in time, the headquarters of the Immortal Court will definitely be destroyed by the other party, and there will be no chance of returning." It seems like what I spied on before was right. The president of the Immortal Court said indifferently, "Don't worry too much. The headquarters of the Immortal Court can be protected. Not only that, I also want to destroy these reckless ants." Hearing that, the sword god was startled. "President, you already know that they will attack my Immortal Court? What the world doesn't know is that I am also a fated person." With that said, the president's body was like a sharp sword as he flew towards the distance. A sentence floated in the air. "You continue to chase after the divine Eagle Clan. I will return to the Immortal Court." The sword god was startled. Suddenly, he seemed to have sensed something and looked around anxiously. Only then did he realize that the million immortal army led by the president of the Immortal Court had not appeared. The divine Eagle Clan seemed to have only allowed the spirit demon to take action. Since they did not appear, could it be? The sword god suddenly understood. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile. He turned and flew into the distance. On the jade platform at the top of the building, the huge Tai gradually shrunk and returned to its original form. Seeing that, Qin Xianlong and the rest immediately rushed over. The entire jade platform had been eaten, and all of them saw it. They rushed over. At the moment, Su Yin was lying on the ground. His stomach was swollen, his 7 orifices were emitting light, and his body was overflowing with energy. He took a few deep breaths and let out a long burp. Only then did his stomach gradually disappear. However, Su Yun's mental state was not good. His face was much paler than before. He stood up and wanted to take a few steps forward, but his body went limp, and he almost fell to the ground. Kai Tan, who was at the side, hurriedly supported Su Yun and asked anxiously, "Master, are you all right?" I'm fine. It's just that there's some indigestion in my body," Su Yun said weakly. "It's good that Master is fine. Now that the Imperial Envoy of the Immortal Court is dead, most of the people from the Immortal Court have escaped. We have already taken the initiative in this battle. Now, we have already occupied the Immortal Court. Master, what should we do next?" Xingbai said excitedly. "Do you need me to teach you?" Su Yun said weakly. "Empty the Immortal Court for me." Everyone was stunned for a moment, then shouted in unison, "Yes, sir." With that said, everyone immediately started to get busy. Su Yun was also brought to the Imperial Envoy's training grounds to recuperate. Faceless searched for a lot of good pills for Su Yun to recuperate. Although Su Yun looked fine on the surface, in reality, his situation was much more serious than he had imagined. His body had been thrown into chaos by the self-detonation of the 11 Imperial Envoys, and if not for the fact that he had transformed into a Tao Tai, and the strength of his body had even surpassed that of his body, he would have died a long time ago. Even so, the Qi meridian in his body had been attacked, and his Qi was in a mess. If not for the fact that his Qi meridian was now an immortal meridian, coupled with the series of enhancements from before, and his strength was astonishing, the consequences would have been unimaginable. "I didn't expect you to win just like that. It was much easier than I imagined." At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded out from the entrance of the cultivation ground. "Who?" Faceless immediately stood up and shouted. He saw a woman standing at the door, but Su Yun raised his head and said indifferently, "Don't worry, it's one of us." Hearing that, Faceless did not say anything. As for the woman, she walked over leisurely. "I knew that one day you would recuperate in the Immortal Court. I thought that you would recuperate in the Elder Court, but I didn't expect you to be here, and so fast." This woman, Xiao Chua, said with a smile. Chapter 1361. I didn't expect the opportunity to come so quickly. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Su Yun laughed. Xiao Chua slowly walked in front of Su Yun. Looking at his pale, white face, a look of pain flashed past her eyes. Then she said softly, "Are you all right? It's nothing serious. Don't worry. Ahem. Speaking of which, the Immortal Court should have no enmity with you. Why are you targeting the Immortal Court?" "No enmity? It's just that you don't know. Is it because of the Immortal Court and the true Devil Realm? This is only a part of it. The most important thing is that if the Immortal Court is not destroyed, I will not be at peace." Su Yun said indifferently, "There's still many things that you do not know. If I do not take the initiative to attack, the Immortal Court will definitely take the initiative to attack me. If those who are at a disadvantage do not make some preparations, they will only be nibbled away by the opponent." Xiao Chua nodded thoughtfully when he heard this. "Where were you at the beginning? Why don't I see you? Didn't I inform you in advance? I want you to leave the Immortal Court. The battles here are so intense, and the swords have no eyes. What if something happens to you?" Su Yun looked at Xiao Chua and said. His tone was rather reproachful. Xiao Chua was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled and said, "You don't have to worry. I've already arranged a shelter in advance." At this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside. Su Yun and Xiao Chua looked towards the door. Xiangyang rolled and crawled toward them in a panic. He shouted in a trembling voice, "Something's wrong. Something big has happened, my lord. Something big happened." The voice came in, causing Su Yun and Xiao Chua to jump in fright. "What's the matter? Why are you in such a panic?" Su Yun stopped meditating, stood up, and asked. "The periphery, a large number of Immortal Court army has appeared in the periphery. Moreover, they are exceptionally strong. Lord Wei Ming's initial observation shows that these Immortal Court army seem to be the ones who attacked the Divine Eagle race. Although they were rushing to the Divine Eagle Mountain, they seem to have suddenly changed their path and turned back." "What?" Hearing that, Su Yun's face changed. He suddenly stood up He lowered his head and thought for a moment, his face extremely ugly. Not good, not good, not good, he murmured in a low voice, and his expression became more and more anxious. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and he hurriedly shouted, "Give the order to stop collecting the immortal court's resources and retreat immediately. Hurry." "Yes." Xiangyang hurriedly nodded and ran outside. Suyin stood up and walked out. What's wrong, Suyin? Why was he so impatient? The immortal court's army only has 1,000,000 soldiers, while the underworld army of immortals and demons outside you has at least 2,000,000 soldiers. In terms of combat strength, you are not weak at all, Xiao Chua said. This is no longer a matter of numbers. Su Yin shook his head, his face full of worry. This is still the difference in strength. I don't fear the people of the immortal court. I fear the leader of the immortal court. Grand Judge Immortal? He's here? So he wasn't going to deal with the divine eagle race. Without him, who will deal with the divine eagle race leader? Celestial Judge's strength is superior to clan leader Divine Eagle. He only needs to exhaust clan leader Divine Eagle's strength and return to the celestial court as soon as possible. Sword God Yi Xiao is more than enough to handle the remaining matters of Divine Eagle race. Actually, from the start, the immortal court did not only deal with Divine Eagle race, they also dealt with us. They purposely mobilized their army to leave, with the goal of luring us to attack the immortal court. As for the 11 royal envoys, they didn't self-destruct to take us down with them. Their main goal was to exhaust my strength. Now that I'm injured, it's impossible for me to fight against the great immortal Duke. If he comes, it'll be a one-sided massacre. It will become purgatory. His voice became dry and hoarse. The situation was not as smooth as he had expected. He never thought that Celestial Judge would actually list him as one of his targets. Hearing that, Xiao Chua was immediately stunned. You mean to say that the judge has been targeting you from the start? I can't be sure. Xiao Chua, leave first and chase after the group of immortals. Following me will be dangerous. After this matter is over, come find me at the immortal seeking sect. You can't stay in the immortal court for too long. I'm worried that you'll be discovered by Celestial Judge. If that's the case, it will be too dangerous. With that said, Su Yin rushed out of the imperial court. At that moment, a large number of people from the allied army had gathered outside the imperial court. Under the leadership of the various immortal sects, everyone quickly gathered and rushed out, leaving the place as fast as they could. Su Yun, accompanied by Faceless, also rushed over. Take the side path. Don't bump into the immortal court army. Master, I know of a path. The immortal court army will definitely not know that we left from there. Kai Tian said. Kai Tian had stayed in the immortal court for a period of time a long time ago, so he had a good understanding of the immortal court surroundings. Then you go and lead the way. Everyone follow Master Kai Tian. Don't split up too much. If you meet the immortal court army, you need to gather immediately. Su Yin shouted. Yes, sir. The people shouted and then followed Kai Tian to the side in unison. The army turned into a long human dragon and advanced forward continuously. However, not long after they advanced, they stopped. Seeing that, everyone revealed puzzled expressions. Su Yin felt that something was wrong and immediately flew forward, but after leaping over the crowd, he also stopped. Looking ahead, there was a human wall. It was a human wall formed by the elites of the immortal court. They seemed to have already expected Su Yun and the rest to come over. All of them had already polished their swords, filled with immortal chi, and looked over like tigers eyeing their prey. How is this possible? How did they know we would go this way? Could there be a spy among us? Did they inform the immortal court of our retreat location? Going this way was decided by Lord Kai Tian on the spot. Even if it was just a notification, it would be impossible to make it in time, unless... Everyone couldn't help but look at Kai Tian, and at that moment, Kai Tian's face was pale white, beads of sweat dripping down his face. He was very nervous. The immortal court had appeared on this side path, and not the main path. It was definitely not because they wanted to be close, but because they knew that they would leave this way. Only the heavens knew that he had already been suspected, because there was no better explanation, and it would be difficult for him to use words to express his innocence. Elder Kai Tian will not betray us. I believe in him. All of you don't need to think too much. Just as Kai Tian was extremely nervous, Su Yun suddenly opened his mouth and shouted out. Everyone was startled. Su Yun pulled out the dual moon sword and said coldly, "Everyone prepare. Prepare to fight to the death. Quick! Prepare to fight." A shout came out. The sound of drums and horns began to spread in all directions. Everyone quickly gathered together, arranged their formation, and stored their spells. Previously, the battle in the Immortal Court was really easy. Su Yun's army was only facing a few injured soldiers, but this time it was different. The Immortal Court army standing here were the most elite existences of the Immortal Court, existences that the Immortal Court army used to attack Eagle Mountain. Although Su Yun's side did not suffer heavy casualties, everyone had used up a lot of energy, even if the Immortal Court people were not strong. But as the defending side and controlling the Immortal Court's defense system, it would not be easy to defeat them. In this wave, Su Yun should not have fought head-on, but there was no way out. He had no choice but to fight. The brave would win, and the cowardly would lose. Chirp! A strange sound rang out, and in the middle of the two armies, a colorful door of light appeared. The door split open, and a figure of light walked out from the door. The people on Su Yun's side all opened their eyes wide. Their breathing hurried as they looked at the figure, their expressions all sluggish. If it was just a competition of immortal chi, it could consume Su Yun for an entire day. Su Yun waved his hand with all his might, sending the crystal man flying back. Then his body moved, transforming into thick smoke, and when he appeared again, he was already in the terrifying inverse dragon form. He opened his mouth wide and directly bit the crystal man's waist, and then crazily tore it apart. The crystal man raised his ice sword and pierced towards his head, but Su Yun, who had transformed into the inverse dragon, had increased his strength greatly, and his defensive ability was even more terrifying. Su Yun, who was at the peak spirit god realm, had transformed into the inverse dragon, which also increased the inverse dragon's strength. The current him had already surpassed the peak spirit god realm, so it was not difficult for him to tear apart the crystal man. When he finally got rid of the crystal man with great difficulty, Su Yun was already exhausted and his aura was extremely weak. In the previous battle, he was already injured, and now that he had forcefully transformed into the inverse dragon, he had even used up all of his strength. Even if he caught up to Great Elder Immortal, he would not be able to do anything to him. His body had returned to its human form, but at this moment, he could barely fly forward. Panting heavily, he headed towards the location of the vicious sword. He could see that the sky of the sword sheath's world had already darkened, and the air seemed to have been heavily polluted. However, in Su Yun's opinion, this aura was definitely related to the vicious sword. He continued to move forward, and at this time, the sword discourse arena on both sides also started to show signs of abnormalities. The sharp swords on the sword discourse arena suddenly started to tremble violently, as though they could fly out of the sword discourse arena at any time. Su Yun frowned. He did not dare to be negligent, and immediately increased his speed. But before he could fly for long, a strong light burst out from the direction of the vicious sword in the distance. Su Yun was no match for the light in his eyes, and immediately stopped, covering his eyes with both hands. The light lasted for a long time before gradually weakening. He cast his gaze forward once again, only to see that in the distance, a figure emitting a halo of light was floating in front of a gigantic sword that could reach the heavens. However, in the middle of the gigantic sword and the light, there was another figure. It was a delicate and alluring figure, a figure dressed in snow-white clothes that were as beautiful as snow. "Qing Yu," Su Yun muttered. That snow-white and gentle face, at this moment, only had determination and solemnity left. The aura had changed. In this enormous sword sheath's world, Great Elder Immortal's aura was instantly suppressed, unable to leak out. Scram back. Chapter 1363. Su Yin took a deep breath and flew forward with his sword, landing not far behind the great Judge Immortal. He tilted his head and looked at Su Yun, who was behind him, and released a faint smile. Why are there so many people in this world who do not cherish their lives? You cannot take out this ominous sword. If not, you will cease to exist in this world. Su Yin said, "The legend of the ominous sword is not a secret. Its existence represents the strongest power in the universe. Countless people are searching for it, hoping to obtain a power that surpasses all else. However, some people say that countless people have died under its sword light. Although this is the first time I've seen this world-destroying divine sword, I think that the reason why those people died at the hands of the ominous sword was because they were not strong enough and could not control the ominous sword. However, I am different. I believe that with my strength, it is enough to make this sword submit to me. It is enough to help me step onto the path of eternal life and become a true god of this world, a god that stands above immortals." He opened his arms, as though he wanted to hug the ominous sword. This confident statement was truly arrogant, but in the entire immortal world, there were not many people who dared to refute the great Judge Immortal. After all, the great Judge Immortal's strength could be said to be at the peak of the immortal world. "Seems like you did not listen to my words. Ling Qing, you seem to be angry." She snorted, suddenly raised her hand and pointed at the figure. Chiu! A ray of sword chi shot out from her finger, directly piercing through the great Judge Immortal's chest. This movement and attack was completed in an instant. Forget about Su Yun. Even the great Judge Immortal did not have time to react. The great Judge Immortal was startled. He lowered his head to look at his chest, his eyes unable to move for a long time. Finally, he seemed to have realized something and looked at Ling Qingyu in shock. "Why you are actually, but..." Ling Qingyu did not give him the chance to speak. She raised her hand again, her jade fingers once again releasing dense sword chi. Like a laser beam, she shot towards the great Judge Immortal. The speed of the laser beam was unbelievably fast, and its destructive power was indescribable. Even the great Judge Immortal's defense was unable to block it. It had to be known that when Su Yun sneak attacked the great Judge Immortal, the dual moon sword could not even break through the great Judge Immortal's skin. It was enough to show how terrifying Ling Qingyu's strength was. Grand Immortal Lord quickly retreated. The wound on his chest quickly healed, and soon, it was as if nothing had happened. Just then, great Judge Immortal's body suddenly spurted out a large amount of golden red blood, and on his waist, a crack appeared. Following that, his body split into two. Bang! 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 In the distance, the sword discourse platforms that held the divine swords and sub-sword were swept by the terrifying sword aura, and all of them exploded, causing the divine swords and sub-swords to scatter. Seeing that, Su Yun's heart jumped. This sword aura, there was probably nothing in the world that could resist it, right? Is this the ominous sword aura? Ominous sword. Is this the power of the ominous sword? It is truly inconceivable. This sword is truly worthy of being called the World Destroyer Sword. Ha ha ha. I'm looking forward to this sword more and more. The great judge laughed out loud. The two halves of his body that was cut in half actually recombined. The wound had completely disappeared, as though he was not injured at all. Ling Qingyu's body once again flew out from the ominous sword. But the current her was different from before. Her white skin was filled with pitch-black markings, as though many venomous snakes were attached to her head, and her snow-white eyes were also pitch-black. It was extremely penetrating. Her originally soft and beautiful hair was now like heavy iron, resting on her shoulders, especially her chi. Su Yin was completely unable to recognize it. "Qingyu, what's wrong?" Su Yin muttered. Ling Qingyu became strange, and her power also became ruthless. She raised her hand again, and from her slender arm, a terrifying and vast sword chi overflowed, sweeping towards Great Judge Immortal like a wave. Great Judge Immortal's face congealed, his hands facing the air. Clang! A rainbow-colored barrier spread out, blocking the sword chi that struck down. However, the barrier could not hold on for long. The sword chi's power was unknown. Very quickly, the barrier shattered, and the terrifying sword chi directly submerged Great Judge Immortal's body. In that instant, his body was smashed full of holes by the terrifying sword chi, and he could not even gather a bit of immortal chi, much less retaliate. Great Judge Immortal tried his best to gather his chi, transforming into a ray of light, and flew out. With great difficulty, he managed to dodge the sword chi, but before he could even catch his breath, waves of clang-clang sounds came from all directions. It was extremely oppressive and ear-piercing. Great Judge Immortal's astonishing healing power was once again displayed, and the potholed flesh and bones returned to their original state in the blink of an eye. He looked to his left and right, only to see that 4 astonishing and powerful steel barriers had suddenly appeared, connecting the sky and fiercely pressing towards Great Judge Immortal. Great Judge Immortal activated his immortal technique again, causing the space around him to tremble violently, creating circles of ripples, and after a moment, a thick golden arm came out from the ripples, fiercely striking towards the steel barrier. However, when these arms touched the steel barrier, they could not stop them at all. Seeing that the situation was bad, Great Judge Immortal immediately leaped up. Taking advantage of the fact that the steel barrier had not completely closed, he rushed out. But before he could rush out, a large amount of sword chi came from the outside and fiercely struck his body. The sharpness of the sword chi was simply unimaginable. Great Judge Immortal's defense was simply non-existent. It directly pierced through his body. Both of his arms were cut off, his body was riddled with thousands of holes, and even half of his head was sliced off. With such severe injuries, if it was an ordinary immortal, they would have already died. Even if they did not die, at least the chi meridian in their body would have been damaged, and their cultivation would have dropped. But Great Judge Immortal seemed to have already transcended the concept of flesh. With great difficulty, he finally rushed out of the terrifying steel barrier, but he no longer dared to make Ling Qingyu his enemy, and directly rushed out. Was he going to give up just like that? That's right, with the strength of the ominous sword, how could a single person contend against it? Great Judge Immortal flew the entire way. His speed was so fast that it left Su Yun speechless. He frowned. He knew that he was unable to keep up, but he did not plan to stay by the side and watch, nor did he plan to sit and wait for death. He immediately raised the dual moon sword in his hands and started to inject energy into it. Out of all the techniques he had, only the Imperial Sword of Strength could injure Great Judge Immortal. Seeing that Great Judge Immortal had already flown far away, Su Yin did not dare let him escape just like that. He immediately raised his hand and activated the Star Reaping Glove, grabbing onto Great Judge Immortal. Using all of his strength, he forcefully grabbed him from the edge of the sword sheath's world. Great Judge Immortal did not expect Su Yun to have such a move. Adding that Su Yun's strength was pushed to the limit, his body was immediately pulled back. Just as he was pulled back, Su Yun immediately took out the flowing feather mysterious fan and suddenly fanned it towards the direction of the mighty sword and Great Judge Immortal. A gale exploded. Great Judge Immortal was instantly blown towards the ominous sword, and the dual moon sword that Su Yun had injected with a large amount of brute force also shot towards Great Judge Immortal. Pucci! The mighty sword pierced through Great Judge Immortal's chest, bringing his body directly onto the ominous sword's blade. At the same time, a large amount of terrifying sword chi leaked out from the sword's blade, and like an iron chain, it wrapped around him, trapping him on the sword's blade. Chapter 1364. The great immortal judge struggled frantically. The chains formed from the sword chi seemed to be unable to bind him. Seeing that, Su Yun used his last bit of strength and crazily waved the flowing feather Xianzun fan. Waves of strong wind struck towards the great immortal judge's body. The light on the great immortal judge's body became weaker and weaker, and his complete body was also shattered by the wind. Su Yun felt that his arms could leave at any time, and his consciousness was blurry, as though he could faint at any time. He bit the tip of his tongue and continued to persevere. The wind continued to blow. Great immortal judge's struggle became more and more intense. The seal on this evil sword has not been completely removed. You can't fight against me. You can't suppress me. Great immortal judge let out a mournful cry. The weak light around his body suddenly blossomed again, his eyes spitting out 9 strange words. These words flew into the sky, circling crazily around the evil sword's body. The sword chi that leaked out of the evil sword seemed to have been stimulated and actually did not dare to leak out. The sword chi chains that bound Great Immortal Judge also became much thinner. Source of God power? Su Yun was stunned. Could it be that Great Immortal Judge's strongest power could surpass the power of the evil sword? No, the power of the evil sword was not weak, but it was already sealed and only relied on the little bit of strength that leaked out from the seal to contend against the immortal court. Puff! Just then, a chain that was binding Great Immortal Judge suddenly broke. His body slowly moved outwards, and the speed at which the 9 words rotated became faster and faster. No, if this continued, Great Immortal Judge would definitely break free. At that time, no one would be able to do anything to him. Su Yun's heart tensed up. He immediately stopped waving the flowing feather profound fan, his mind quickly spinning the next plan. However, at that moment, his strength had been exhausted, and there was not much chi left. Forget about his current state. Even at his peak state, he might not be able to stop Great Immortal Judge. What should he do? What should he do? He became more and more anxious. Once Great Immortal Judge broke free, regardless of whether he left or stayed, it would be disadvantageous to Su Yun. The best way was to trap him. Just as Su Yun was extremely anxious, a pitch-black sword suddenly flew over from afar and landed not far away from Su Yun. Su Yun looked over. Death Sword. Wasn't this the formation core that suppressed the evil sword formation? Why did it appear at this time? Su Yun was confused. However, the Death Sword was intelligent. It couldn't have sensed something and came over on its own, right? Forget it. Now is not the time to let my imagination run wild. He raised his eyes and stared at the great judge, immortal, who was about to escape the suppression of the ominous sword. He grabbed the death sword and rushed towards the great judge, immortal. Su Yun, stop! At this critical moment, a deep shout suddenly echoed from the world of the sword sheath. Su Yun was stunned. This voice? Sword ancestor? He turned to look, wanting to stop, but realized that the death sword was not under his control. It continued to pull him forward, and the death sword's blade tip was facing Grand Judge Immortal. What was going on? He grabbed the hilt of the death sword with both hands and tried his best to stop it, but he was powerless. It was as if the death sword was being pulled by something. He could not stop at all. Suddenly, Su Yun seemed to have understood something. He immediately released his hands and leaped backwards. As expected, the sword might of the death sword that continued to move forward became much weaker, but it still pierced into the great judge Immortal's body. Su Yun originally thought that the sword would not be able to do anything to the great judge Immortal, but he was gravely mistaken. When the death sword pierced into the great judge Immortal's chest, it was not like the injuries he had suffered before, but instead, it opened its mouth and let out a mournful scream. The death sword continued to tremble, and on the sword's body, a terrifying sword intent that only an ominous sword would have. This sword intent seemed to be absorbing the great judge Immortal's life force. The great judge Immortal's body seemed to have been electrocuted, trembling at a high frequency. The aura around his body was also constantly fluctuating, as though he would die at any time. Su Yun's face became ugly. Just then, a figure landed beside him. It was the sword ancestor. However, at that moment, he did not have the time to ask too many useless questions. Sword ancestor, what is going on? Who exactly is controlling the death sword? Do you even need to ask? The sword ancestor said, the one controlling the death sword is naturally this ominous sword. Ominous sword? Ching you? Su Yun's eyes widened. Hiss, 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 hiss. Just then, The great judge, Immortal's body, suddenly released a strong divine light that shone in all directions. Su Yun and Sword Ancestor retreated at the same time. The divine light forcefully dispersed some of the ominous sword chi, and successfully forced the Death Sword and the Double Moon Sword to retreat, and then directly rushed upwards. Faintly, Su Yun seemed to see the image of a gigantic divine elephant in the divine light. Bang! The spatial wall of the sword sheath world was pierced through, and the light passed through the spatial wall, directly jumping out of the sword sheath world. Not good. Was the great judge, Immortal, going to escape? If the battle outside was interfered with by the great judge, Immortal, it would be dangerous. But, just as Su Yun wanted to move, he was stopped by the Sword Ancestor. The great judge, Immortal, is heavily injured. It is not easy for him to interfere in the battle outside. If I am not wrong, he will definitely escape immediately. I am already here. I believe he will not dare to stay for long. The Sword Ancestor said seriously. Hearing that, Su Yun turned his head and sized up the Sword Ancestor. At that moment, he realized that the current Sword Ancestor was indeed very different from the one he had seen in the past. First was his aura, which gave off a sharp feeling. On the contrary, the current him did not look like a person, but more like a sword. Next was his aura, which Su Yun could no longer feel. It was enough to show that the current Sword Ancestor's strength had already surpassed the peak of the Spirit God Realm. Following that was his concept, which Su Yun could not see through. Everything about him seemed to be the primal chaos of the universe, and was simply incomprehensible. Sword Ancestor, could it be that you've already... Only then did Su Yun react. The 3 souls and 7 spirits have already been gathered, and with the help of an old friend from the past, I used the corpse of an ancient supreme expert to revive. After 81 days of tempering, the current me is already close to my peak strength. Even if I were to deal with the chief judge of the Immortal Court, I would still have the strength to fight. The Sword Ancestor said. Hearing that, Su Yun was overjoyed. Really? Master Ancestor, that's great. Not good. However, he shook his head and said solemnly, It's not good now. Su Yun, although the great judge Immortal has been repelled, the problem we have to deal with is far more serious than the great judge Immortal. If we are not careful, the world might end here. End. Su Yun was startled. He looked at Sword Ancestor, only to see that he was staring at the evil sword in front of him with a serious expression. Su Yun looked over, only to realize that the evil sword did not calm down because of the departure of the great judge Immortal. Instead, it became even more intense. The aura became denser and denser, and the ruthless sword intent became more and more obvious. Su Yun's face changed. He sensed that something was amiss. He looked around and realized that when the evil sword was fighting with the great judge Immortal, it had forcefully destroyed many of the surrounding immortal platforms. The barrier that sealed the evil sword has been destroyed? Su Yun muttered. That's right. From the looks of it, it should be the evil sword that destroyed it. Although it was not completely destroyed, it was constantly destroying it. It can destroy on its own. It has always been able to destroy itself. The reason why these seals are able to seal the evil sword is not because of the so-called suppression seal, but because of the heart-sealing seal. Heart-sealing seal. Seal the irritation in the heart of the evil sword and calm it down. This way, the world will be at peace. So that's how it is, but what's going on with Qingyu? Where is Qingyu? Su Yun was suddenly shocked. He looked around and shouted, Qingyu! Qingyu! Where are you? Unexpectedly, his shout caused the evil sword to become even more irritable. Ling Qingyu? She should be the sword spirit of this evil sword, Su Yun said with a dejected expression. At the moment, he was blaming himself. He never thought that Ling Qingyu was actually the sword spirit of the evil sword. Thinking back to everything that had happened in the past, he was extremely vexed. If he had treated her well, he would have definitely discovered this scene. Has the evil sword already produced a sword spirit? Sword Ancestor was also extremely shocked, but what made him even more surprised was the fact that Su Yun and the evil sword spirit were acquainted. Sword Ancestor. The seal is broken and the evil sword is out of control. We need to repair the seal as soon as possible, Su Yun said anxiously. The change in Ling Qingyu's appearance was probably caused by the evil sword losing control. Repairing the seal is easier said than done. Furthermore, the evil sword is no longer willing to suppress its ruthless sword intent. The death sword suddenly appeared and lured you to attack the great immortal judge. It was the evil sword's doing. The evil sword has even controlled the death sword. It wants to use you to kill the great immortal judge, and then completely absorb the great immortal judge's power, and then achieve its goal of ascending. Once it kills and absorbs the great immortal judge's power, the evil sword will advance to its complete form, and the scene of the evil sword destroying the world will appear once again. Sword Ancestor said in a serious tone. Hearing that, Su Yun felt a chill run down his spine. He swallowed his saliva, his mind in a mess. Finally, he took a step forward. Master Ancestor, as matters stand, there's nothing we can do, right? Strictly speaking, it should be. Are we going to give up just like that? Su Yun suddenly turned his head, looked at him, and said seriously, I believe that Qingyu will not think of destroying the world, and will not think of an aimless massacre. All these years, I understand her. If she is the sword spirit of the evil sword, then she will definitely not give up. Sword Ancestor was surprised. He looked at Su Yun for a long while, then said, Then what do you want? I want to repair the sword formation. There's not enough time. I believe that Qingyu will buy me time. He raised his head and looked at the gigantic evil sword, then turned around and flew towards the scattered divine swords and subordinate swords. His movements were extremely resolute. Chapter 1365. Repair the seal sword formation. To the current Su Yun, this was simply as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Not to mention the fact that the materials needed to repair the seal sword formation could not be found. Just based on Su Yun's current condition, it was impossible for him to repair the seal sword formation. Su Yun understood. Sword Ancestor also understood. But no matter who it was, no one was willing to watch the evil sword lose control and reappear in the world, causing the world to be destroyed. Once the evil sword reappeared, everything would be over. Give up, Sword Ancestor sighed, his eyes filled with reluctance and helplessness. The mission of the limitless sword sheath had finally come to an end. All these years of hard work had been in vain. Looking at the increasingly restless evil sword, Sword Ancestor also felt incomparable despair. What he had been worried about all these years had finally happened. However, just as Sword Ancestor thought that everything was over, streams of transparent qi suddenly rushed towards Su Yun. Not only that, the mother swords and subordinate swords that were floating in the air also seemed to have a consciousness of their own. They trembled slightly and then flew over in that direction while swaying. What was this kid trying to do? Sword Ancestor opened his eyes wide, filled with doubt. At such a critical moment, did he still want to use up his last bit of strength? Just as Sword Ancestor was unable to understand Su Yun's actions, something strange happened again. In the distant sky, an orange light suddenly shot over and directly struck Su Yun's body. Sword Ancestor was shocked. He wanted to take action to stop the light, but just as he was about to move, he realized that the light was not fatal to Su Yun, but on the contrary, the light was actually continuously injecting energy into his body, although the energy was extremely fierce, causing Su Yun's body to feel waves of pain, and painful moans came out from his mouth, but he clenched his teeth and persisted in absorbing the energy. After a while, the light disappeared, and Su Yun's body had accumulated a small amount of strength. He once again used the limitless sword arts, and at that moment, the subordinate swords, mother swords, and qi swords around him became more and more stable. They were controlled by Su Yun and arranged in a canvas around the evil sword. Very quickly, a new formation was formed, Seal Array. Seeing that, Sword Ancestor immediately came to a realization. Su Yun wanted to use qi to control the sword and construct the Seal Array. However, this could only solve the urgent situation, and the consumption of qi was extremely huge. Su Yun could not hold on for long. Sure enough, it didn't take long before the temporary formation began to tremble. The formation shook incessantly, and the aura attached to it also trembled incessantly, as if it could collapse at any time. Su Yun, give up. What you're doing is just wasting your energy, the Sword Ancestor could not help but say. But his persuasion did not make Su Yun give up. Instead, Su Yun directly shouted, "Master Ancestor, quickly help me." Was he still unwilling to give up? Sword Ancestor could not help but sigh. But since Su Yun had already said that, how could he remain indifferent? He immediately leaped up and landed behind Su Yun. With one hand, he struck his back and poured a surging qi into his body. Very quickly, Su Yun's body was filled with energy. The sword formation that he maintained also regained its stability. The evil sword qi was also temporarily controlled, but even if the Sword Ancestor made a move, it would not be able to solve the problem from the root. In the end, a person's qi was limited. They needed the Sword Discourse Arena to stabilize these flying swords, and they also needed a large number of spirit swords to strengthen the formation. The current state of the evil sword was much stronger than before. Sword Ancestor thought of a countermeasure. But not long after, he suddenly sensed that something was wrong. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the evil sword, only to see that the evil sword had already stopped leaking sword qi. Not only that, not long after, the evil sword actually started to absorb the sword qi that was leaking out. What? Seeing this shocking scene, Sword Ancestor was so shocked that he was speechless. The surrounding temperature gradually recovered, and the irritation and killing intent continued to weaken. The evil sword qi was gradually restrained, and the two of them were able to maintain the formation more and more easily. Sword Ancestor watched all of this with his mouth agape. He did not even blink his eyes. After an unknown period of time, he finally regained his senses, and at that moment, the sword qi of the evil sword was already very weak. The evil sword had completely calmed down. The sword god felt his mind go blank. All his years of understanding of the evil sword seemed to have been overturned at this moment. An existence like the evil sword, why would it be like this? Was it Su Yun's doing? Or could it be that it controlled itself? One question after another circled around Sword Ancestor's mind, but no one could answer his question. After the evil sword's qi was completely restrained, Su Yun finally could not hold on any longer. The breath in his heart relaxed, and he immediately fainted. The qi meridian was exhausted. Seeing that, Sword Ancestor immediately supported his body. However, at this moment, the sword formation also collapsed, and one by one, they floated around the evil sword. He carried Su Yun and anxiously retreated, looking at the evil sword with fear and trepidation. He had originally thought that the evil sword would make a move again and become irritable, but the truth was not what he had imagined. The evil sword that had left the temporary seal array did not continue to release the terrifying sword qi and sword intent, but instead, like a machine that had its electricity cut off, it gradually quieted down. After a while, the entire evil sword had completely calmed down. The sky returned to its blue color, and the ruthless aura disappeared like smoke in thin air. How could this be? Even after leaving the seal array, the evil sword could still calm down? Sword Ancestor's suspicions were even greater than Su Yun's, but it was not the time to think about it. He looked at the unconscious Su Yun, then turned and flew out of the sword sheath. Just as Sword Ancestor had said, the great immortal court did not participate in the battle outside. Instead, he directly abandoned the people of the immortal court and fled. In fact, even though he was heavily injured, to these immortals and devil cultivator, he was still a high and mighty existence that could not be challenged. However, he was not afraid of Su Yun, but the sudden arrival of Sword Ancestor. He could feel the power of Sword Ancestor, so he chose to leave. Furthermore, the sword spirit within the evil sword had truly exceeded his expectations. This time, he had truly miscalculated. If the leader of the immortal court left, then Su Yun's side would clearly have the advantage in the battle. Their numbers and strength were not weaker than the immortal court side, and with the escape of the great immortal court and the arrival of Sword Ancestor, the morale of Su Yun's allied forces was greatly boosted. The Nether Demon army, led by the Nether Empress, had also successfully occupied the Immortal Gate and rushed towards the Immortal Court, smoothly meeting up with Qin Qianlong and the rest. The strength of Su Yun's allied forces had increased explosively, and the Immortal Court army was no match for them. As a result, under the leadership of Qin Qianlong and the rest, the Immortal Court army was gradually defeated and retreated step by step. In the end, hundreds of thousands of Immortal Court army were defeated and fled south. Su Yun's allied forces had obtained a complete victory. The battle between Su Yun and the Immortal Court army ended with the defeat of the Immortal Court army. And after this battle, the Immortal Court army had completely fallen from its position as the overlord of the Immortal World. The various sects of the Immortal World were no longer restricted by the Immortal Court army, and the current Immortal Court army only existed in name, and the situation in the Immortal World had undergone a tremendous change. However, the great Immortal Court army was not dead, and no one could tell whether his injuries were serious or not. As long as the great Immortal Court army was not dead, the Immortal Court still had the possibility of making a comeback. And this time, Su Yun had relied on Ling Qingyu to barely delay the great Immortal Court army. If the great Immortal Court army were to once again organize the scattered Immortal Court army, it would not be difficult to gather 1,000,000 people, and this power would be stronger than Su Yun. Thus, a few days after Sword Ancestor brought Su Yun back, Su Yun gave the order for the entire sect to retreat. And the news of the battle between Su Yun's allied forces and the Immortal Court army spread throughout the entire Immortal World in the past few days. The entire Immortal World was shocked. No one dared to believe this news, and no one could believe that the invincible and supreme Immortal Court army had been defeated. Furthermore, they had been defeated so thoroughly. The authority of the Immortal Court was unchallengeable in the Immortal World. To overthrow such a regime, not only did one need strength, one also needed the courage to give up everything. Because if one failed, one would lose everything and die. When the news of this spread, the entire Immortal Court was in an uproar. All the immortal sects sent their disciples to the Immortal Court to verify the news. And when these people arrived at the Immortal Court from afar, all they saw was a pile of ruins and many loose immortals who had come to pick up treasures. The Immortal Court's encampment was in such a mess, it was enough to prove that there was indeed a great battle here, and Su Yun's newly risen power, in a short moment, resounded throughout the entire Immortal World. More and more people asked who Su Yun was, and more people paid attention to Qin Qianlong, Xiang Yang, Xing Bai, Kai Tian, and the others. They were like monstrous waves that had suddenly appeared in this vast ocean, causing people to fear and not dare to look straight at them. However, the appearance of the Devil Cultivator S and the Underworld Dweller S in this force were like poisonous thorns that deeply stimulated the majority of the Immortal World's strength. In addition to the Immortal Court's previous edict, many immortals started to speculate whether or not Su Yun was sent into the Immortal World by the true Devil Realm with the intention of occupying the Immortal World. More and more voices of suppression appeared, and countless people started to respond, starting to target the Devil Cultivator, preparing to start another war. But at this time, Su Yun chose to lead all the immortal sects, including the Jiang Yun Palace, into the secret encampment. At this time, he needed to rest and recuperate. The current Immortal Court was no longer a threat to many immortal sections. His goal had been achieved, so there was no need for him to take any further action. At the very least, the current Immortal World could no longer attack the true Devil Realm, and the true Devil Realm would have a very long time to reproduce. However, even though the trouble with the Immortal Court had been temporarily resolved, it did not mean that Su Yun was fine. After returning to the secret encampment, Sword Ancestor immediately healed his injuries. After 10 days of effort, Su Yun finally recovered his strength. However, there was no joy on his face from defeating the Immortal Court. When he had just recovered a little, he hurriedly went back into the sword sheath. Evil sword. This was what Sword Ancestor was most worried about. As for Ling Qingyu, she was the one Su Yun was most worried about. What happened to Qingyu? Chapter 1366. Actually, after I found out that the people of the true Devil Realm were attacking the immortal sect, I knew that you had already started to make a move on the immortal court, so I rushed over quickly and coincidentally saw you dragging the great immortal master into the sword sheath. Although I know that this is your last resort, but once the great immortal master enters the sword sheath, he will definitely sense the existence of the evil sword, and with his temperament, he will definitely snatch the evil sword. So I directly opened up the spatial wall of the sword sheath and forcefully entered the sword sheath, wanting to stop the great immortal master, but after entering, I realized that it was too late. Sword Ancestor looked at Su Yun, who was deep in thought, and asked, Su Yun, you seem to know the sword spirit of the evil sword? Yes. Su Yun regained his senses and nodded. The two of them slowly flew in the vast world of the sword sheath. After an unknown period of time, the gigantic sword image of the evil sword appeared in Su Yun and Sword Ancestor's line of sight. Su Yun, when you forcefully activated the limitless sword arts to construct the sword formation, I saw a ray of light appear from the south and hit you. But you did not dodge, as if you knew that the light stone was helping you. What's going on with this light? At this time, Sword Ancestor could not help but ask again. Su Yun was startled, then shook his head and said, Actually, I didn't know at the beginning at that time. I only wanted to calm the evil sword down. I didn't know who else would help me. But at that time, I felt a familiar chi, and upon sensing this chi, I knew who was helping me, so I did not reject it. Su Yun looked in that direction, but did not explain in detail to Sword Ancestor. Sword Ancestor did not ask further, and the two of them continued forward. Very quickly, Su Yun arrived in front of the evil sword. No one can understand this sword, but, Su Yun, you seem to understand this sword better than us. Sword Ancestor said slowly. I don't know much either, but I know that the reason why the evil sword was able to calm down was definitely because of Qingyu. She must have tried her best to control herself in this moment of crisis, to prevent the evil sword from rushing out of the sword sheath and destroying the common people. Su Yun said. Hearing that, Sword Ancestor was suddenly enlightened. So Su Yun believed in the ominous sword spirit. That was why he did not choose to leave, but used his last bit of strength to maintain the sword formation. He did not expect the sword formation to be able to control the ominous sword. He only hoped to rely on the sword formation to help Ling Qingyu control the ominous sword. What was going on? The Sword Ancestor was extremely shocked. He did not dare believe what he saw. Who could communicate with the evil sword? Logically speaking, an existence like the ominous sword, even if it produced a sword spirit, it should be like the ominous sword's nature, incomparably brutal, bloodthirsty, an existence that destroyed everything. But why was Su Yun different from ordinary people? Sword Master secretly took a deep breath, suppressing his surging emotions. To be able to control the ominous sword is indeed an extremely difficult task. But Su Yun, you cannot place all your hopes on the ominous sword spirit. Sometimes, she will not be able to control herself. I know, Master Ancestor. That's why I've already ordered people to gather the materials. During this period of time, let's recast the sword discourse arena here. Su Yun said. That's good. Sword Ancestor nodded his head, seeing that Su Yun was standing in front of the ominous sword, not doing anything. As though he was waiting for someone, he asked curiously, Su Yun, what are you still doing here? You should have a lot of things to do outside, right? I'm waiting for Qingyu. After suffering from the invasion of the immortal court, the ominous sword's aura has gone out of control. I'm afraid it will take her a while before she can come out. I know. Seeing that, the Sword Ancestor opened his mouth. He wanted to say something, but in the end he sighed and did not speak again. Su Yun waited by the side of the ominous sword, but the Sword Ancestor would not waste time like him. Not long after, Xiangyang had already prepared the materials needed to recast the sword discourse arena, and the Sword Ancestor opened the spatial wall and sent them into the sword sheath's world one by one. Half a month later, the ominous sword finally moved, but it was not a violent movement. A large amount of thread-like sword chi appeared on the ominous sword's gigantic sword body. Following that, a pale white figure slowly floated out. Su Yun, who had been waiting by the side, opened his eyes wide. Looking at the figure that appeared from the ominous sword body, his eyes widened. The sword ancestor had been preparing the materials the entire time, and upon seeing this scene, he was extremely surprised. In a flash, he landed beside Su Yun and stared at the person who came out of the ominous sword's body vigilantly. Qingyu. Seeing the person who appeared, Su Yun could not help but exclaim. Ling Qingyu closed her eyes tightly, waiting for her entire body to come out from the ominous sword's body before opening her eyes again. But before she could react, a sturdy figure rushed over and pulled her into his embrace. Ling Qingyu was startled, her bright eyes opened wide, and only after a while did she adapt. She raised her pale white hands and gently caressed Su Yun's broad back, and without saying a word, she quietly nestled in his embrace. Is this the ominous sword spirit? The sword ancestor flew over, with his hands behind his back. He stared at Ling Qingyu and said, Master Ancestor, I don't know the exact connection between her and the ominous sword. I only know that she's the most important person in Su Yun's life. Su Yun answered Sword Ancestor with a serious face. The Sword Ancestor did not say anything and looked towards Ling Qingyu. At the moment, Ling Qingyu was still dressed in snow-white clothes, without any makeup on her body, but her face was much paler than before, and she looked extremely weak, extremely weak. She raised her head and looked at the Sword Ancestor who was not far away. Her eyebrows slightly furrowed, and a slightly cold voice came out from her pink lips. I feel a trace of killing intent from you. What? You want to kill me? With that said, Su Yun's heart jumped. He looked at Sword Ancestor in confusion. The Sword Ancestor was silent for a while, then nodded and said, If you're the ominous sword spirit, then, if you're not here, the power of the ominous sword will definitely not exist. As such, the threat of the myriad heavens realm will no longer exist. The mission that the Sword Ancestor had been carrying all these years was to suppress this ominous sword. Sword Ancestor? No. Su Yun anxiously shouted. Su Yun, I know that you have a deep relationship with this sword spirit, but sometimes you have to consider the overall situation and consider all living things. Her power is too strong, so strong that she might not even be able to control it herself. If one day she becomes vicious, do you know how serious the consequences will be? The Sword Ancestor said in a serious tone. What does the common people have to do with me? I don't care about all of this, and I don't care what Qingyu is. I only know that when I was most confused, she was the one who guided me. When I was most lonely, she was the one who accompanied me. When I was most helpless, she was the one who stood up and fought alongside me. Even if she is the spirit of the ominous sword, I do not care. All I want is for her to be safe. I will not allow anyone to touch even a single hair on her. Su Yun clenched his teeth and growled. With that said, Ling Qingyu's body trembled. She looked at Su Yun in shock. The Sword Ancestor was also extremely startled. He stared at him blankly, and, after a long time, he sighed. Sigh. With your personality like this, I should have known that you would say such words, Master Ancestor. There must be another solution. Let's recast the sword discourse arena now. Won't we be safe? The ominous sword has been stable for so many years, and it will be the same in the future. Su Yun said anxiously. Su Yun, you don't have to be like this. If this person wants to kill me, he is still lacking. Ling Qingyu stopped Su Yun and said coldly. Qingyu, no matter what, I do not wish for you to fight with Master Ancestor. You are extremely important to me, but Master Ancestor is also an extremely important person to me. If you two really fight, I can only choose to sacrifice myself, Su Yun said in a low voice. Ling Qingyu opened her mouth, sighed, and did not say anything else. Sword Ancestor also gave up on the thought of making a move on Ling Qingyu, and said helplessly, All right, Su Yun, you don't have to be conflicted, since we can't touch the ominous sword spirit. Then let's think of another solution. Rebuilding the sword discourse arena is indeed a way, but it will take a lot of time, and it will definitely take a long time to forge, but the seal array that you temporarily constructed was able to calm down the ominous sword. It can be seen that Lady Ling Qingyu is also trying her best to suppress the power of the ominous sword. If that is the case, then it will be much easier for us. I just do not know if Lady Ling Qingyu is able to control the power of the ominous sword at any time. If there is any accident, and she is unable to completely suppress it, causing the power of the ominous sword to go berserk, that would not be good. Sword Ancestor asked Ling Qingyu in a probing manner. Hearing that, Ling Qingyu snorted, "You don't have to worry about me. The one you should really worry about is yourselves. My power is not something I was born with, but something you guys bestowed upon me. I am indeed able to control my own power, but in one situation, I am unable to control myself. And in this situation, when there is a strong energy approaching, once there is a huge amount of energy approaching, I will absorb it on my own. And once I obtain new power, the consequences will be unimaginable, and this small sword sheath will definitely not be able to trap me." With that said, both Su Yun and Sword Ancestor's hearts sank. He knew what Ling Qingyu was worried about, and it was none other than the Great Judge Immortal. Although the Great Judge Immortal has temporarily escaped, he will definitely not give up just like that. If he is prepared next time and makes a comeback, how should we deal with him? Soldiers will block. Water will be covered with earth. Su Yun said, "Right now, the biggest threat is him. We must prepare in advance. During this period of time, I will stay here with you and guard the sword sheath to prevent thieves from peeping." Sword Ancestor said, "All right." Su Yun nodded his head. "I will have to trouble Master Ancestor for this period of time. Please help me take care of the situation outside." "What is it?" "Su Yun, you're not leaving the sword sheath?" Sword Ancestor asked. "I won't go out for now," Su Yun said, but there was a strange luster in his eyes. Chapter 1367. All of Su Yun's power was concentrated in the secret encampment, and even more than half of the True Devil Realm's power had been transferred to the immortal world. The True Devil Realm was empty, and rebuilding it was not something that could be completed in a short period of time. Furthermore, the immortal world would not focus on the True Devil Realm and the underworld for the time being. The immortal court was already on the verge of collapse, and if this powerful organization were to fall, the immortal world would reveal countless problems. After Sword Ancestor left the sword sheath, he only cultivated alone. All the matters in the secret encampment were handled by Su Luluo and the rest. The Immortal Seeking Sect, the Great Linglong Palace, and the Eight Harmonies sect had already begun their relocation. These few sects had already been exposed. If the Great Immortal Judge personally came to exterminate them, Su Yun would definitely not be able to resist. When the Great Immortal Judge found out that the limitless sword sheath was hiding a vicious sword, he would definitely not let Su Yun go. Furthermore, there was an extremely strong worry in Su Yun's heart. Although he had already gathered all of his power in the secret encampment, and the defensive capabilities of the place were already extremely strong, even an ancient sect like the Divine Eagle race might not be able to break through. But if it was the Great Immortal Judge, it would be hard to say. The other immortals might not know of Su Yun's movements here, but the Great Immortal Judge might not be able to say for sure. It had to be known that when they attacked the Immortal Court army had also blocked their retreat. So how did the Immortal Court army know that they would retreat from that direction? Furthermore, seeing that they were fully prepared, it was obvious that they had long known that he would do this. Su Yun's heart was filled with suspicions. He was worried that the Great Immortal Judge would know the location of the secret encampment. Other than the Immortal Seeking Sect, the Eight Harmonies sect, the Great Linglong Palace, the Carefree Hall, the Hidden Dragon Hall, and the Jiangyun Palace, there were also the power of the True Devil Realm and the power of the underworld. Other than that, Su Luluo had specially divided a place for the Divine Eagle race to stay, and on the 7th day after Su Yun entered the secret encampment, the Divine Eagle race also successfully entered the secret encampment. With the two experts, the Sword Ancestor and the Divine Eagle race, as well as the Flame Saint Demon from the underworld, the three experts should be able to fight against the Great Immortal Judge. Su Yun was no longer clear about the movements of the Immortal Realm. After the battle, the Immortal Court's encampment was already in ruins, and the Great Immortal Judge did not lead the people of the Immortal Court into the encampment. Instead, he had completely disappeared, and no one knew where he was hiding. When the Immortal Court met with a calamity, The mysterious power represented by Thousand Heavens also surfaced and began to recruit the scattered immortals and the experts who had left the immortal court. In this period of time, Su Yun did not want to do anything. He only wanted to draw the array formation enchantment inside the sword sheath. Of course, these array formation enchantment were not the array formation enchantment used to seal the ominous sword, but the array formation enchantment used to defend the sword sheath. After the sword discourse arena was completed, he planned to completely seal this place. However, when he was only halfway through the project that he had completed alone, the world of the sword sheath changed again. A rainbow-colored light dyed the entire world of the sword sheath. In that moment, Su Yun felt as if he had fallen into some kind of strange and mysterious world. He could not see anything clearly, and there were only bright colors in his eyes. This profound concept lasted for an entire half an instant stick of time before it gradually stopped. Su Yun thought that this was the doing of the ominous sword, but the truth was not so. You should go see Qing. Ling Qingyu appeared out of nowhere and landed beside Su Yun and said softly, "This light? Could it be that it was overflowing from Qingyu's side?" Hearing that, Su Yun immediately rushed towards the direction of the Emperor's sword. The Emperor's sword was quite a distance away from the ominous sword, so the ominous sword's sword aura did not affect him, which made Su Yun more gratified. Rushing to the side of the Emperor's sword, Su Yun was immediately stunned. Looking at the Emperor's sword discourse arena, it was already in a state of decay. The sub-swords on the sword discourse arena had all decayed, turning into scrap metal. And in the center of the sword discourse arena was the gigantic Emperor's sword. But at this moment, the sword's body seemed to be made of rainbow, becoming incomparably dazzling, colorful. Compared to before, it was like two different swords. It was unbelievable. As for Su Qing'er, she was currently lying in the colorful, quietly sleeping. Su Yun carefully sized up Su Qing'er and realized that her clothes had completely disappeared, and she was completely naked in the gigantic sword body of the Emperor's sword. But what made him more concerned was that the Emperor's sword was continuously releasing a bit of grayish-white qi, and the sleeping Su Qing'er was continuously absorbing the qi, as though she wanted to completely absorb the sword. "Qingyu, what's going on?" Su Yun immediately asked. "She is about to complete her transformation. What's going on with the Emperor's sword? Why do I feel that the Emperor's sword is smaller than when I first saw it?" Su Yun frowned. He looked carefully and was sure that it was not an illusion. During Su Qing'er's transformation, she will absorb all the energy around her, and all the energy on the sword discourse arena has already been absorbed by her, and the rotten sub-swords on the ground are all caused by her. The Emperor's sword is a primal sword, and is also an extremely powerful sword in the sword sheath, so naturally it will not be absorbed so easily, but it will not last for long either. I believe that after the Emperor's sword is completely absorbed, Su Qing'er will also complete her transformation, undergo divinization, and completely awaken. Divinization? Su Yun was slightly startled. It was the first time he had heard of this. It's hard for me to explain it to you in a short period of time, but when Su Qing'er is about to complete her transformation, you must bring Su Qing'er out of the sword sheath. If not, once she completes her divinization, her power will leak out, and it will stimulate me. I am worried that I will lose control of my power and cause irreversible things. Saying till here, Ling Qingyu's voice was clearly much softer. Su Yun thought for a moment, then nodded his head seriously. Although Su Qing'er had not completely woken up, the change was already a sign. All Su Yun had to do was wait. He continued to draw his defense in the sword sheath's world, while Ling Qingyu returned to the evil sword and stabilized his own qi. Su Yun did not ask Ling Qingyu too much about the evil sword. He understood that if Ling Qingyu could say it, she would definitely tell him everything. But she had chosen to remain silent, which meant that it was better for him not to know about these things. Su Yun stayed in the sword sheath for a full 2 months, and in the end, he was still forcefully dragged out of the sword sheath. The Wanhua realm lord entered the immortal realm. When Su Yun received the news, he was not surprised at all. His direct confrontation with the immortal court had already begun, and the Wanhua realm lord would definitely come out to help him at this time. Otherwise, Facing an expert like the Immortal Court, he would always be in a passive position. After receiving the news, Su Yun immediately sent Faceless to the Immortal Sect to pick up the Realm Lord and bring him to the secret encampment. Faceless walked smoothly. Maybe the Realm Lord had calculated the time beforehand, so he arrived at the encampment without any obstructions. After entering the encampment, the Realm Lord immediately called for Su Yun, and the two of them sat alone in a secret room to discuss. Su Yun did not reject any of the Wanhua Realm Lord's requests. For her to enter the immortal realm at this time, she must have predicted that something would happen. In a quiet room, Su Yun and the white-clothed Realm Lord sat facing each other. He quietly looked at the Realm Lord, but the Realm Lord lowered her eyes, her face suffused with a trace of paleness. "Did you expect something to happen when you suddenly entered the immortal realm?" Su Yun asked softly. Although she knew that the Realm Lord would come, her appearance would always give Su Yun a feeling of fear and trepidation, because she was the symbol of the event. If the wind was calm, Su Yun believed that he would definitely find her in the quietest place. The myriad realms are in chaos, and history is about to be rewritten. We have entered the most critical moment, so I have no choice but to come. The Realm Lord spoke. Her voice was still extremely gentle. Compared to before, when Su Yun heard her voice, he felt that it was even more gentle. Maybe it was more appropriate to say that it was weak. He frowned, hesitated for a moment, and asked, "Then what did you foresee? The Immortal Court is about to make a move on you. You need to be on guard as soon as possible. The Immortal Court has already caught sight of my location." Su Yun's heart skipped a beat. He thought that it would be later, but he never thought that it would be so fast. "Back then, you assassinated a large number of the Immortal Court's envoys, but in reality, you did not wipe them all out. There is a minister envoy that you cannot take care of no matter what." "Immortal Court Judge," Su Yun said in a deep voice. The Realm Lord nodded lightly. Su Yun frowned. This was obviously something he did not expect. The Immortal Court Judge is actually a minister envoy. Moreover, his divination arts are far above mine. No wonder he knows my whereabouts like the back of his hand. Not only your whereabouts, but also some of the basic matters around you. He has already investigated clearly. Sword Ancestor, Fiery, Saint Demon, Divine Eagle Clan, he knows all of them. Apart from that, he also sensed that I was helping you. That's why you entered the immortal realm at this time. Only now did Su Yun understand the true reason that the Realm Lord wanted to say. Sort of. Your current strength is already very strong. In this encampment, even the Immortal Court Judge would not dare to attack easily. Although he is strong, he is outnumbered. Then do you know when he will attack? Su Yun asked again. When the Realm Lord heard that, she pondered for a moment before shaking her head. I can't use the fate divination art continuously. Also, this kind of fate is extremely crucial. It has a huge influence on one's fate. Even if I can use the fate divination art, I'm afraid it's hard for me to see through this part of fate. So, I can't answer you. Hearing that, Su Yun was disappointed. So, it's like that. However, I deduce that the Immortal Court Judge will attack you within half a year. Why are you so sure? Because the Immortal Court Judge's goal has already changed. What he is most interested in now is no longer the power and benefits of the immortal realm, but the supreme power, which is the evil sword in your sword sheath. The Realm Lord said softly. Chapter 1368. Since the Great Judge Immortal was the Prime Minister's envoy, then Su Yun's concealment was only to stall for time. Right now, everything that the Great Judge Immortal was doing was probably for the evil sword. If Grand Elder Celestial's thirst for power surpassed everything, then his actions against the ominous sword would be extremely extreme and terrifying. Hearing Realm Master's words, Su Yun sank into deep thought. Since she was unable to predict when the president of a mortal sect would attack, then Su Yun had to be prepared for the president of a mortal sect to attack the encampment in the next second. Come, he called. The guards outside immediately ran in. My lord, pass down the order. The encampment is to enter the highest state of alert. Everyone is to prepare for battle at any time. Su Yun said solemnly. Hearing that, the guard was shocked. He stared blankly at Su Yun for a while, then regained his senses and cupped his fists. Yes. Also, I would like to invite the Eagle God clan leader, Sword Ancestor, Qin Xianlong, Xiang Yang, Xing Bai, and the other people in charge of the meeting hall. I have something important to discuss with them. Understood. The guard immediately turned around and ran away. The realm master took a deep breath and slowly closed her eyes. Su Yun turned his gaze back to realm master. Feeling the chi on her body, he stood up, extended his palm out, and gently placed it on her shoulder, imbuing some gentle, immortal chi in her body, helping to soothe her almost exhausted chi meridian. But after a moment, Su Yun's brows furrowed like a fried dough twist. Using the divination art consumed a lot of your lifespan, and this journey has left you exhausted. Right now, your body is very weak, and you need to receive treatment and rest. Otherwise, your situation will become very bad. I know, but there are some things that must be done. The ominous sword cannot be moved. The president is a smart person. He should know this point. But his thirst for power has clouded his mind. He thinks that he can rely on his own strength to control this terrifying, ominous sword. But he doesn't know that his actions will only send the lives of the 10,000 worlds to their graves. I must stop him. If not, wouldn't I be letting down the ability that the heavens have bestowed upon me? The realm master said slowly. Her voice was still extremely weak. An ability bestowed upon you by God? Where did this theory come from? Why do you care about the living beings of the myriad worlds? What you have to do is to take care of yourself. If anything happens to you, the only ones who will cry will be these people who care about you. Su Yun said in a deep voice. The realm master did not speak again. Su Yun stared at her for 3 seconds. She then reached out with her hand and pushed away most of the thin clothes on her body, revealing her fair skin. Realm master's delicate body trembled slightly. Her originally half-closed eyes suddenly widened. Her clothes had been taken off by Su Yun, and she was completely naked. The pair of soft and perky things in front of her chest was also completely visible to the man in front of her. Her little face was flushed, her long eyelashes trembled slightly, and her breathing became rapid. However, she did not resist, nor did she question. It was as if she trusted everything this man did. The man suddenly stretched out his hands and pressed them on the pair of soft places. She couldn't help but let out a soft cry that sounded like a cat's. However, Su Yun did not feel awkward, nor did he seem to be enjoying the feeling of his blood vessels swelling. Instead, with a serious face, he urged his chi and mobilized the energy in the young girl's body. I will now use some dual cultivation techniques to heal your injuries. This way, you will be able to obtain the greatest benefit from my cultivation. It will increase your cultivation and extend your lifespan. Su Yun said. With that said, the realm master slowly opened her gem-like eyes and looked at Su Yun quietly. After a moment, she opened her cherry lips and asked, "Why don't you dual cultivate with me?" Hearing that, Su Yun was startled for a moment, then immediately shook his head. Although you and I are husband and wife, it is only in name. It is just an expedient measure. There are no feelings between us. Why should we dual cultivate? Furthermore, I have to be responsible for them. However, just as he finished speaking, a soft and smooth little mouth suddenly moved forward, directly sealing Su Yun's mouth. Su Yun's pupils slightly dilated. He looked at the young lady in front of him in disbelief. This weak and slender young lady, who was like a leaf in the wind. When did she become so active? When did he become so bold? Was this still the realm master that he knew? The young lady clumsily used her tongue to explore Su Yun's mouth for a while. Her movements were extremely jerky, but very quickly, she calmed down and separated her lips. Su Yun did not feel anything. He was just surprised, but the young girl's cheeks were flushed red. Her breathing was a little hurried, even though she still had a calm face, wanting to maintain her composure, but her performance betrayed her. I know the feelings between you, Hu Qianmei, Long, Xianli, and the others, and I also understand that your feelings for me are not enough, but I still hope that you can sacrifice yourself for the sake of the overall situation, for the sake of all of this, and dual cultivate with me. so that I can obtain more lifespan and better use the fate-telling technique." She said it very seriously, but Su Yun was sweating profusely. It was not easy for such a thing to be said in such a serious manner. Furthermore, it was said by such a serious girl, which was even more difficult to accept. Su Yun took a deep breath, but did not plan to agree, because this was not a reason. He was not a stallion, and had to be responsible for other women. "I will help you increase your lifespan, but there is no need to rely on this method. Realm Master, as the Wanhua Realm Master, you should carefully consider the choice of a dual cultivation partner. This is not for me, but for yourself," he said with a serious face. Hearing that, the Realm Master lowered her head, as if she was thinking about something. A moment later, she raised her head and slowly said, "Since that's the case, I respect your choice." "Yes." Su Yun nodded. He removed his hand from Realm Master's chest, helped her put on her clothes, and said, "They should be almost here. Let's go out." "All right." Realm Master nodded and followed Su Yun out. In the meeting hall, all the people in charge of the encampment had arrived. Sword Ancestor, Divine Eagle Lord, Qin Qianlong, Xiang Yang, Xing Bai, Wei Ming, Kai Tan, the Cabinet Elder of Jiangyun Palace, and the Empress of the Underworld sat down. The Flame Saint Demon did not care about these things, so he did not come. When Su Yun walked into the meeting hall, Qin Qianlong and the rest immediately stood up and bowed to him. The Divine Eagle Lord and the Empress of the Underworld did not do so. They only looked at the Realm Master behind Su Yun. Although the young lady was extremely weak, they could see a trace of unfathomable profoundness from her. "Master Ancestor, Lord." Su Yun cupped his fists towards the two of them and looked at the Empress of the Underworld, only to see her cold face, coldly glancing at him, and then looking away. "Su Yun, what exactly is the matter for us to gather here? Did you receive any news?" Sword Ancestor asked. "Master Ancestor, I have indeed received news." Su Yun took a deep breath, turned to look at the crowd, and said, "According to the news, the Immortal Court has a new target, which is the Limitless Sword Sheath. Now, because we do not know where he is, we do not have any information about him. Now, he can attack this encampment at any time, so I have invited all of you here to discuss countermeasures." With that said, the crowd was in an uproar. Su Yun did not plan to announce the fact that the Realm Master had the divination technique, so he did not say anything. Although everyone could hear it, no one dared to ask. "The sword sheath must not be taken away by the president. If what you said is true, then we should be prepared to deal with the president," Sword Ancestor said indifferently. "But how did the president know our location?" Just then, Divine Eagle Lord suddenly asked. "According to the news, he is also a divination envoy, and his divination technique is extremely powerful," Su Yun said seriously. "Since he is a divination envoy, then I'm afraid that he will be able to detect any preparations we make, and he will definitely prepare a countermeasure. If that's the case, you will be wasting your time," Divine Eagle Lord said indifferently. Hearing that, Su Yun immediately frowned. In fact, amongst the myriad world's myriad manifestation techniques, the one that Su Yun was most afraid of was not the supreme divine technique that caused people's expressions to change, nor was it the great exquisite technique that could peek into people's hearts. Instead, it was the divination technique. The supreme divine technique only controlled the person, while the great exquisite technique controlled the state of mind. In the end, there was still room for improvement, but the divination technique was completely different. This kind of technique controlled everything about you, not only your body and mind, but also your past and future. Everything was in his hands. In the Divine Eagle clan, there used to be a divination master, but because of some reason, this divination master died, but I have some understanding of the divination technique. Su Yun, you know that the president will attack, but you don't know when he will attack. Doesn't that mean one thing? If he attacks, the variables are too great, and he can't be seen through by the divination technique. On the other hand, if we take the initiative to attack and kill the president, do you think that the president's divination technique will be able to catch us? With that said, Qin Qianlong and the rest were confused, but Su Yun was suddenly enlightened, and was full of respect for the divine Eagle Tribe patriarch. Obviously, he had already sensed that Su Yun had a divination master by his side, and secondly, he had also provided Su Yun with a good suggestion. Right now, his defenses were already useless. Since the Grand Elder Immortal knew his exact location, he could think of a way to neutralize all his defenses. His divination art allowed him to gain the upper hand, and this method was something that the Realm Lord wouldn't be able to defend against. Since that was the case, Su Yun could only take the initiative to attack. That's right, but if we want to take the initiative to attack, we need to know the President's current location. How can we know where he is? Just then, the Sword Ancestor spoke. With that said, the meeting room became silent. Master. Just then, a figure walked into the meeting room. Su Yun looked. It was Faceless. What is it? Su Yun asked. Faceless took out a piece of fluorescent cloth with a few words written on it, walked up, and handed it over to Su Yun. News from the Immortal Court, Faceless said in a low voice. Hearing that, Su Yun's heart trembled. Shouch was sent news. Chapter 1369. He immediately took the fluorescent cloth and looked at it carefully. There were not many words on it, but it told Su Yun an important piece of information. The location of the Immortal Court and the rest of the Immortal Court. Master Ancestor is worry-free. Su Yun destroyed the fluorescent cloth and said in a low voice, We already know the location of the Immortal Court. The words of the Divine Eagle Lord are indeed reasonable. Since that's the case, we should take the initiative to attack. Su Yun, we still need to think about this matter at length. After all, we are dealing with the leader of the Immortal Court. He has dominated the immortal world for so many years and has powerful methods. If we were to be ambushed, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Sword Ancestor seemed to be worried and advised. Don't worry, Grandmaster. I will come up with a foolproof plan. In any case, everyone should be prepared as soon as possible. Within half a year, we will have an end with the Immortal Court. At that time, no matter what the outcome is, we just need to do our best. We don't need to protect the heavens and myriad worlds. He slowly stood up, scanned the people present, and then walked out of the meeting hall without saying a word. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what Su Yun meant. Only the Realm Master followed him. After leaving the meeting hall, Su Yun returned to the training ground alone. This training ground was much more luxurious than the training grounds that Su Yun had used in the past, and it was obvious that the heavens had considered that Su Yun's current identity was completely different from before, so the place he used should not be any more simple and crude. However, when he entered the cultivation grounds, he did not cultivate. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes in deep thought, as if he was thinking about something. When the Realm Master arrived in front of the cultivation grounds, she was about to enter, but when she saw a figure in the corner, she stopped in her tracks. Wanhua Realm Master, when did you come? Hu Qianmei also saw the person, walked over and asked. Not long ago. What's wrong with Big Brother? It's hard to say. The Realm Master shook her head and said indifferently, He is very hesitant, or rather, he is very afraid right now. Afraid? What are you afraid of? Hu Qianmei expressed that she did not understand. She had always been in the encampment, although Su Yun did not ask her to do anything, but she had seen everything that happened in the encampment. The current Su Yun had millions of immortals in his hands, countless experts, and countless treasures. His current strength had already far surpassed the Immortal Court. What else could threaten him? What he is afraid of is whether he should go or not. The Realm Lord sighed. Hu Qianmei's eyebrows twitched slightly. She had heard a little about what had happened in the meeting hall and knew the problem that Su Yun was facing. However, if Su Yun took the initiative to attack, it would affect his fate, and the Chief Judge would definitely have a way out. Only then would Su Yun be able to take the initiative and deal with the Chief Judge. This was a good choice, but why was it that Su Yun was worried and afraid? I don't understand. She shook her head. If you don't understand, it means that you don't understand Su Yun well enough. The Realm Master said indifferently. With that said, Hu Qianmei was unhappy. However, he heard the Realm Master say again, this operation is not only related to Su Yun's own safety. In fact, he has never considered his own safety. What he cares about is actually the two people in the sword sheath. The two people in the sword sheath? Hu Qianmei was startled, then suddenly thought of something and said, "You mean Ling Qingyu and Qing?" "Yes, because if this operation failed and the sword sheath was taken away, then Su Qing'er and Ling Qingyu's lives would definitely be in danger. Not only that, the chief judge had obtained the evil sword, the calamity of the myriad realms, and everyone would die under the evil sword. The consequences were extremely serious, and Su Yun knew this very well. So he was afraid and hesitant. Should we take the initiative to attack? Should we continue to defend this place?" Hearing that, Hu Qianmei's eyes flashed with waves of pain and guilt. She bit her red lips. "He has always been thinking about us, but he has never thought about himself. This idiot. After so many years, why hasn't he learned it? Isn't he very selfish? Why is it that he is not selfish at this time? Idiot." "So this is the difference between him and others," the Realm Master said indifferently. Hu Qianmei's face revealed grief. He looked at the Realm Master and asked, "Then do you have any ideas?" The Realm Master thought for a moment, then shook her head. At this time, he can only rely on himself. No one could do anything about it, because every decision he makes is actually not wrong, and we are unable to give him the right choice. Hearing that, Hu Qianmei bit her lips and did not say anything else. Somewhere in the immortal world, on top of a cloud, two figures stood quietly. One of them was the famous sect leader Qian Tian, and the other was dressed in a black robe, holding a long sword in his hand, but his figure was exquisite. It was a woman. "Why didn't you take the 9 divine wind, heavenly bead away, and give it to the divine eagle race?" Qian Tian turned around and questioned the black-clothed lady beside him. "The immortal court is eyeing the 9 divine wind, heavenly bead. If we take it away, it will only attract the strong enemy of the immortal court. Since that's the case, why not let the divine eagle race fight with the immortal court?" The woman in black said indifferently. "But now that the immortal court has been defeated by the devil cultivator's forces, the scouts have reported that the divine eagle race has also joined the devil cultivator's forces, and the current immortal court is no longer a match for that fellow called Su Yun." Qian Tian complained. The woman turned around and looked at Qian Tian indifferently. "Are you blaming me?" Qian Tian was startled. He took a deep breath and said, "I didn't mean that." "That's good." The woman's face under the cloak revealed a smile. "The 9 divine wind heavenly bead will be a catalyst. No matter what, someone will help us take care of the immortal court. Isn't that much better than us doing it ourselves? When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. Even mortals understand this principle. Why don't you understand it? I know what you're planning, but I'm not sure about this devil cultivator. After all, the headquarters of the immortal court was destroyed by them. If he is strong enough, and with the 9 divine wind heavenly bead in his hands, once he defeats the immortal court, I'm afraid he will grow to a level even stronger than the immortal court back then. It's not as serious as you think. They're just some clowns. There's no need to worry. We just want to save some strength and use it in more useful places. If we go all out, how can we let the immortal court and the devil cultivator jump? All right, Qian Tian, do your part and don't think too much about anything else." The woman in black did not want to waste any more words. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned and left. Qian Tian looked in the direction that the woman left in. When she was far away, he snorted, his eyes filled with cold, killing intent. The secret encampment obtained a few days of peace, and after Su Yun pondered for 3 days in his own training grounds, he left the encampment alone. When he returned to the encampment, the sword sheath on his body had already disappeared. Seeing this, Hu Qianmei knew of Su Yun's plan. As expected, not long after returning to the encampment, he immediately summoned the various people in charge and began to discuss the attack strategy. He decided to take the initiative to attack. Actually, this was not a surprise to Hu Qianmei. She knew that he was never a person who liked to sit still and wait for death. Furthermore, there was a chance to erase the immortal court this time. So why didn't he take action? If he missed this opportunity, perhaps there would never be such a good opportunity in the future. Very quickly, the army in the secret encampment began to gather. Su Yun specially ordered the people of the Divine Eagle Race to patrol the surroundings of the encampment, to prevent the immortal court from sending people to inquire about the situation. Su Yun secretly sent someone to inform Xiao Chua, who had already met up with the immortal court. After the immortal court was defeated last time, he immediately gathered the scattered immortal court people, and there were already close to 2 million of them. In addition, he had personally visited many of the surrounding immortal sects and used his powerful martial arts to force them to submit. As matters stood, the immortal court's strength was already over 3 million. Although these were all temporary miscellaneous soldiers, under the leadership of the immortal court, they were still a force that could not be underestimated. Su Yin found out from Xiao Chua what the immortal court had done. The immortal court was currently gathering his strength to fight against the few great immortal sects on Su Yun's side, and once he successfully recruited enough immortals, he would definitely use the banner of exterminating the rebels of the immortal world to head over here. Therefore, after Su Yun quickly gathered his forces, he directly led a total of 5 million immortals out from the secret encampment and headed east, crazily attacking. The Divine Eagle Race leader did not hold back at all. Other than Yang, Zi, and the rest, all the fighting strength of the Divine Eagle Race were mobilized. He also understood that if the immortal court did not die, the Divine Eagle Race would not have a good time. The Divine Eagle Race was extremely fast. They would form a circle and wander around the army. This time, their operation was meant to be concealed. If they were discovered by the immortal court, the situation would become passive. The number of immortals was huge, and they would meet many people along the way. However, with the appearance of the Divine Eagle Race, the passing immortals would be sent away by them, so the location and movements of the army would not be exposed. Su Yun flew in front of the army. Looking at the horizon, the dual moon sword in his hands was tightly held onto. Success or failure depended on this. The Divine Eagle Race leader looked at Su Yun, who had a solemn expression from afar, and flew over. Lord Patriarch, have the arrangements for the surroundings been made? Seeing the Divine Eagle Race flying over, Su Yun immediately asked, "Believe in our Divine Eagle Race. The movements of your army will not be leaked." The Divine Eagle Race leader said indifferently, "That's good. Do you have any plans?" "Plans?" "No." He shook his head, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. "However, once you stand up, I hope that everyone will not hold back and use all your strength to kill the immortal court. Because as long as he dies, the immortal court, it will be completely destroyed." Hearing that, the Divine Eagle Race leader nodded his head seriously. The immortal court was the soul of the immortal court, and only when he died would the immortal court truly perish. Chapter 1370. On a vast land of clouds, a large number of formations were spread out. Immortals the size of ants were moving around these formations. "Move these things over there. Gather the new batch of pills with Lord Zhang. Let Lord Zhang make a record and hand it over to the presiding judge." Xiao Chua made a record while talking to the immortals walking around him. The scene was very busy. An immortal walked over. This person was Xian Hong, who wanted to pursue Xiao Chua. Seeing Xiao Chua so busy, he couldn't help but say, "Chua, take a rest. The presiding judge didn't say you have to finish these things today. Why tire yourself out?" When Xiao Chua heard this, he quickly finished writing the list in his hand and handed it to an immortal next to him. Then, he walked toward the Dharma formation next to him. He entered the Dharma formation, sat down cross-legged, and began to meditate. It wasn't the first time Xian Hong was ignored by Xiao Chua. He laughed and didn't mind. Then, he shamelessly went over. "Chua, do you think the presiding judge will really build a new base here? Look at how busy everyone is. Are we really going to settle down here? This place isn't a good place. It's very remote, and there aren't many resources nearby. Not good. This place is not good." Xian Hong shook his head. Xiao Chua opened his eyes and glanced at him. He said, "The presiding judge doesn't plan to settle down here. Don't worry. Right now, the presiding judge is most concerned about how to increase the power of the immortal court to deal with the demons and the people from Thousand Beyond Heaven. He probably won't consider other things for now." Increase power? How? Xianhong looked around. He really couldn't see what there was to look forward to in this place where even birds wouldn't shit. Xiao Chua casually pointed at the busy immortals nearby. He said, "The presiding judge is using his martial power to increase the sex in the immortal world. Make them submit and work for the presiding judge." Haven't you noticed that the number of people in the immortal court has increased recently? And the resources are increasing exponentially. There's no other reason for us to stay here. It's because the presiding judge is going to make the surrounding sex submit to the immortal court. Do you understand? Xianhong was stunned. He looked in the direction Xiao Chua pointed. Many unfamiliar faces reflected in his eyes. He murmured, "Submit? How to submit? What? What is the meaning of this, little Ro? Can you explain it more clearly?" She was so stupid that no medicine could save her. Xiao Chua shook his head, but did not answer Xianhong. This is Brother Xianhong? At this moment, a slightly trembling voice suddenly floated over from the side. Xianhong's entire body shook, and he hurriedly turned his gaze. He saw a few unfamiliar immortals passing by, but one of them, a bearded man, stopped in his tracks and looked at Xianhong excitedly. "Big brother who?" When Xianhong saw His Excellency, he became even more excited. He took 3 steps forward, and the two embraced. "I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. Hu Han's Han, am actually able to see my sworn brother again. This can be considered a sliver of God's mercy on me." The bearded man sighed with emotion. Xianhong's head was filled with confusion. He looked at the bearded burly man and saw that he had already changed into the immortal court's attire. There were some injuries on his body, and his aura was not as strong as before. "Big brother, why are you here? And what's wrong with you?" "You don't know?" The bearded burly man asked curiously. "During this period of time, I was sent by the higher-ups to investigate the construction of the old court. I've only just returned, so I don't know much about the matters here." "Sigh, brother, it looks like you don't know anything about the earth-shattering changes outside. Forget it. Forget it. It's better if you don't know. Don't ask. I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving first." The bearded burly man seemed unwilling to tell Xianhong, but Xianhong did not agree and stopped the bearded burly man. "Big brother, what's going on? Tell me. If you have any difficulties, Xianhong can help. You can't help me with this matter. Just forget it. Big brother is afraid of harming me? It's a long story. If Big brother doesn't tell me, Xianhong won't let Big brother leave." "So, all right, I'll tell you, but listen carefully. You'll definitely know in the future anyway." The burly man said helplessly and told Xianhong everything that had happened. As it turned out, the burly man was originally a disciple of the Lofty Mountain Immortal Sect, but 7 days ago, the great immortal judge personally led the elites of the immortal court to request the Lofty Mountain Immortal Sect to join the immortal court under the pretext that the immortal court was in danger. If it was purely to help the immortal court, the Lofty Mountain Immortal Sect would have agreed. But the great immortal judge's unreasonable requests were unbearable. It was clearly a disguised attempt to devour the Lofty Mountain Immortal Sect. So how could the people of the Lofty Mountain Immortal Sect submit? But the immortal court's leader was extremely powerful and used force to suppress the Lofty Mountain Immortal Sect. The sect leader was killed, and the remaining people had no choice but to serve the great immortal judge in order to survive. When Xianhong heard the burly man's words, he was dumbfounded. His previous excitement and confusion had already vanished, and he stood there blankly like a statue, unable to regain his senses for a long time. This news was like a huge bell exploding in his ears, and the sound lingered for a long time. Hey, those over there, why are you still slacking off? Hurry up and get to work." At this moment, an angry roar came from afar. An immortal holding a whip darted over from afar and lashed out at the burly man. The burly man silently endured the whip, but didn't dare to say anything despite his anger. Xianhong, on the other hand, finally regained his senses. Unable to contain his anger, he kicked the immortal, causing him to roll on the ground several times. "Dog, how dare you hit my big brother? Do you want to die?" Xianhong raged. The immortal finally regained his senses and hurriedly crawled up from the ground while enduring the pain. When he heard Xian Hong address the burly man as Big Brother, he understood that Xian Hong and the burly man knew each other. He hurriedly bowed and apologized profusely. I'm sorry, Lord Xian Hong. This lowly one didn't know the relationship between this lord and you. This lowly one had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I'm sorry. Xian Hong wasn't in the mood to bicker with him. He shouted a few times, and the man ran away. Brother, you might be able to control them for a while, but you can't control them forever. These immortals who were forced to submit to the immortal court have the lowest status here. They'll rush to the forefront whenever there's a war, and they'll be sent to the front lines whenever there's trouble. You might be able to control me and save me, but can you save the entire High Mountain Immortal sect? The burly man said helplessly and left. Big brother, Xian Hong shouted a few times, but the burly man turned a deaf ear and left. Xian Hong stood where he was, dejected. Xiaoling saw all of this. Although she didn't like Xian Hong, she definitely didn't hate him. After all, Xian Hong could be considered a person who could keep himself clean in the immortal court and wouldn't wallow in the mire with those around him. Now you know how the immortal court increases their strength, right? Xiaoling said flatly. With this sort of force, Xian Hong clenched his fists. Since ancient times, the most direct and effective way to make people submit to you is to rely on force. But there's nothing to be afraid of. Xiaoling stood up and walked into the distance. But just as she was about to leave, she suddenly stopped. You must know that the immortal court you know is not the real immortal court. The real immortal court is much more terrifying than you can imagine. With that said, he had already walked far away. Xian Hong was startled, unable to leave for a long time. Above the vast sky, Su Yun held onto his sword. Leading the millions of soldiers, he continued to advance. The army's speed was not slow. With the help of the divine eagle race, a large number of spells that increased their speed did not stop. If the divine eagle race leader flapped his wings at the back of the army's speed would be even faster. Of course, if that happened, the formation would be in chaos, and Su Yun would not let him do that. Master! Just then, Xiang Yang quickly flew over and cupped his fist toward Su Yun. The scouts have reported that we are approaching the territory of the spirit demons. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned and said, Amongst the claws of the immortal court, these spirit demons are the most troublesome. During this period of time, they have attacked many immortal sects for the immortal court. If we do not kill them, they will become a huge problem for us. Master, what should we do now? Invite the divine eagle race leader over for a chat. Yes. A moment later, the divine eagle race leader quickly flew over. Su Yun, what's the matter? The patriarch asked. We are about to reach the territory of the true demon realm. I want to get rid of them all. Su Yun said with killing intent. If you make a move on the true demon realm, I'm afraid the immortal court will immediately receive the news. This way, I'm afraid we won't have the initiative to deal with the immortal court. The patriarch frowned. I know, but if we don't get rid of the people of the true demon world, we will still be in trouble. Moreover, the place where they are stationed is less than half a day's journey from the immortal court. Once we start fighting with the people of the immortal court, they will definitely come to our aid. Then what do you want to do? Lord Patriarch, you lead the people of the divine eagle race and surround them from the outside. I don't ask you to participate in a battle, but I hope that you can stop all the people that the true demon realm has sent out to send messages and prevent the people of the immortal court from receiving the battle report from here. Don't worry about that. No one in the immortal world can compare to my divine eagle race in terms of speed. Yes. Su Yun nodded, then said to Xiang Yang, the army will split into two groups, attack from the left and right, one led by Sword Ancestor, the other led by me. We will attack in half an instant stick of time. We must defeat the people of the true demon realm today. Yes, sir. Xiang Yang cupped his fists and immediately ran down. Su Yun had millions of immortal devil underworld people on his side. With the help of Sword Ancestor, Nether Empress, Flame Saint Demon, and many other experts, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for the true demon realm to resist. Chapter 1371. The current encampment of the true demon realm was located in a celestial sect that had already been captured. This celestial sect was called the Moon Summoning Sect, and it was quite famous in the celestial world. Because of the long history of the sect, there were a few powerful figures who had appeared during this period. However, in recent years, due to the change of the sect leader, the new sect leader was short-sighted, causing the strength of the sect to decline day by day. The true demon realm only took half a day to capture this place. Ever since the people of the true demon realm took over the Moon Summoning Sect, it immediately caused many immortal sects in the immortal realm to panic. In an instant, these immortal sects spontaneously organized an army and began to attack this place, intending to destroy these existences of the true demon realm. However, they did not know that the immortal court was standing behind the true demon realm. The immortal court had secretly transported a large number of powerful immortal weapons and immortal treasures. In addition, there were many people in the true demon realm. How could it be easy to take down this place? The Celestial Sect Alliance launched a total of 7 waves of attacks, all of which ended in defeat. No one dared to provoke the people of the true demon realm anymore. There were more than 1 million people from the true demon realm, and among them, there were many talents selected from the demon realm. For example, Mu Tian, who was in charge of logistics in the true demon realm, was once the demon emperor of the demon realm. Ever since the true demon realm responded to the immortal court and led the army into the immortal realm, the true demon realm and the demon realm were connected. After all, the true demon realm's involvement in the immortal realm's dispute would affect every demon. Mu Yi walked over and looked at the busy demons. She could not help but ask, "Father, what are they doing?" "Repair the barrier," Mu Tian said calmly. "Are those immortals here to harass us again?" "Yes." "Father, why do you look so unhappy? Why are you absent-minded?" Mu Yi tilted her head and looked at the person in front of her strangely. "It's nothing. Go and cultivate. Leave the matters here to me." "Father, I'm not young anymore. Although I can't compare to the people in the true monster realm, I'm not weak either. If you encounter any troubles, just tell me. I'll help you," Mu Yi said seriously. However, Mu Tian still shook his head and sighed. Things are not as simple as you think. The current situation in the true demon realm is not optimistic. Is it related to the immortal court? Mu Yi's small face was serious and solemn as she said, "Then, Daddy, when will we leave the immortal world and return to the demon world?" "I'm afraid we won't be able to leave for a while. The Lord of the true demon world seems to have reached some kind of agreement with the immortal court, which has affected the entire demon Tao. Whether it's the people of the true demon world or the demon world, they all need to contribute. Our demon world is weak and incomparable to the true demon world. We can only be the logistics to ensure the normal operation of the entire army." "Then, how can it end?" Mu Yi asked. However, Mu Tian didn't say anything. He merely stared into the distance, as if he was thinking about something. Just then, a group of people from the true demon realm walked over quickly. These people were very strong, and their demonic qi was also very dense. They were completely different from the ordinary demons of the demon realm. One person's demonic qi could actually cover the auras emitted by 10 people. Mu Tian furrowed his brows as he stared at the group of people walking over. The group of people casually clasped their fists towards Mu Tian. The leader of the group casually said, "Greetings to Lord Mu." "What's the matter?" Mu Tian frowned, suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart, and said faintly. The person was not in a hurry to speak. Instead, he glanced at Mu Yi, who was next to him. Suddenly, his green eyes glowed and his face was dull. The person in front of him was like a fairy from the 9 heavens. She was dressed in dark green clothes, and her body was like an orchid. Her skin was smooth, and her slender dark green hair was like the most delicate willow leaf. There was probably no one as beautiful as her in the true demon realm. "What are you looking at?" Seeing these people staring at his daughter so blatantly, Mu Tian was instantly enraged and immediately shouted. The people of the demon realm immediately rushed over when they heard the voice. Seeing the unfriendly expressions of the people around them, The people of the true demon realm also knew that they had gone a little overboard. They hurriedly said, "Nothing, nothing. Lord Mu, I have something to ask you to do. According to reports, another group of immortals is preparing to attack us. The front line is in urgent need of supplies to repair the barrier and treat the injured. I was ordered to transfer some supplies to you. Please prepare them." The person smiled awkwardly a few times, then took out a token from his waist and handed it to Mu Tian. Mu Tian took the token and glanced at it. Then he threw it to a small demon beside him and snorted, "The things will be sent over later. You can go back and report." "Thank you, Lord Mu." The few of them cupped their fists and were about to leave. Hee, I didn't expect there to be such a beautiful demon in the demon realm. This trip was really not in vain. That woman seems to be the daughter of this old man Mu Tian. Don't mess around. TSK, who cares? How can a mere mortal demon realm compare to our true demon realm? We are the real great demons. Those people, they are just a bunch of useless people. If I were to go to the demon realm, I would definitely be the ruler of the demon realm. That's right, a bunch of useless trash. Their attitudes are quite arrogant. After this matter is over, we have to teach them a lesson. The group of people left, but they seemed to be able to hear their private conversations and laughter. Although Mu Tian's strength was not as good as the people of the true demon realm, he had been promoted by the supreme expert of the true demon realm during this period of time, so he had the strength of a spirit sage. Damn it, damn it, damn it. This is going too far. Mu Tian clenched his fists and growled. "Father." Mu Yi was also furious. She gritted her teeth and said, "No matter what, you are still the master of the demon realm. After coming into contact with the people of the true demon realm, you actually became their servant. Are we going to continue living like this? There is no dignity at all. I'm afraid that many people in the demon realm are unwilling." Lord Demon Emperor. There are many cries from all around. However, the Demon Emperor was silent for a long time, then shook his head. "So what if I'm unwilling? This is a world where power is supreme. If you want to obtain the respect of others, you can only increase your own strength and stand at the highest point. This way, no one will dare to do anything to you. Father, all right, go back to your work." Mu Tian did not seem to want to dwell on this matter any longer. He waved his hand and signaled for everyone to leave. However, at this moment, a melodious eagle cry resounded in the sky above the spirit demon cultivators. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked up into the sky. They saw a huge eagle flying above them. Mu Tian frowned. He turned and asked the person beside him, "Is that a demon beast from the true demon realm?" "Master, there doesn't seem to be such a demon beast in the true demon realm. This seems to be just a very big eagle." A person stared at the eagle that was flying far away and said in confusion, "Eagle? Why did it come here?" Mu Tian was confused, but the eagle seemed to not see the spirit demon cultivators and directly flew towards the back, quickly disappearing without a trace. This scene made Mu Tian worried. He said to Mu Yi, who was beside him, "Go ahead and take a look. See how many people from the immortal realm are here to harass us, and see if the people from the true demon realm can hold them off." "Yes, sir." Mu Yi nodded and quickly ran away. Not long after, Mu Yi returned. She did not seem to be in a hurry. After rushing over, she directly said to Mu Tian, "Father, no one attacked us. Everything is normal in front." However, a few people from the immortal court came over. They seemed to be discussing something with the great demon. I can't go over, so I can't hear what they're talking about. "Is that so?" Mu Tian thought for a moment, then said, "No matter what, we have to be careful. I feel that the eagle that flew over just now is not normal. I heard that a group of enemies from the immortal court are not simple. They're different from the immortal realm. Our methods are useless in the immortal realm. No matter what happens, survival is the most important, understand? Only by staying alive will we have the chance to regain our glory." "Yes, sir," everyone shouted. "Father, what are you worried about?" Mu Yi was puzzled. "I am worried, boom." Before Mu Tian could finish his sentence, a deafening explosion could be heard. Then, the huge sex base started to shake as if there was an earthquake. Mu Tian and Mu Yi's expression changed greatly. The surrounding demons also panicked. In the shaking, they could not even stand steadily. What happened? Where did the sound come from? Where did the sound come from? Everyone be careful. There seems to be an enemy. All of you hold on. There was a burst of roars around. Mu Tian's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly walked in the direction of the sound. This was the logistics of the Demon Realm army. It was under his jurisdiction. If something went wrong, it would be difficult for him to explain to the people of the true Demon Realm. However, when he quickly walked to the place where the sound came from, he was completely dumbfounded. The sound appeared because the enchantment that enveloped the true Demon Realm army station was attacked. But what was unbelievable was that the thick enchantment had been completely shattered. This was an enchantment set up by the Supreme of the true Demon Realm. Mu Tian could not see through the power contained in this enchantment, and understood how terrifying this enchantment was. And to be able to shatter this enchantment, how strong was this attack? Mu Tian's eyes narrowed. He retreated and shouted at the demons behind him, "Retreat! All retreat to the front of the battle line. All go to the true Demon Realm. Quick!" When he was at the back, he almost roared. He knew that the situation here was already out of control. Sure enough, in the distant sky, a large group of figures in gray armor appeared, as well as countless strange and dazzling beasts. "It's the Dark Dwellers," someone shouted out in panic. Chapter 1372. Mu Tian led the Demon Realm people who were unable to participate in the battle and ran forward in a hurry. When the true Demon Realm people who were guarding the logistics saw that something had happened, they immediately sounded the alarm horn, and a large number of true demon beasts and true demon people rushing out of the enchantment. The people led by Mu Tian were too weak. They did not belong to the battle army. So even if they retreated, it was understandable. After all, if they rushed forward, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths, just like how the people of the ultimate martial world would only be slaughtered when they entered the immortal world. Mu Yi knew that something had happened. How could she dare to stay here for long? She anxiously followed Mu Tian forward. However, the front of the true Demon Realm's army was not having an easy time either. Just as the logistics were in chaos, a large number of immortals and demons inexplicably appeared in front of them. They seemed to have used some magic treasure to hide themselves and approached silently. The people of the true Demon Realm did not have time to notice them. By the time they noticed, the immortals and demons had already begun to attack the boundary. The people of the true Demon Realm panicked. Because the number of immortal and devil armies that appeared was too shocking. They were like locusts suddenly appearing and surrounding the entire true Demon Realm army, covering the sky and covering the sun, densely packed and uncountable. The sovereign demon lord of the true Demon Realm soared into the sky and landed in midair. He was a hollow spirit without a physical body, and his body was a large amount of boiling green gas. However, on this green gas, he was wearing a luxurious robe. Two dark green demon eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Once he appeared, the sky was dark green, and demonic chi soared into the sky. The enchantment could no longer hold on. The people of the true Demon Realm gathered together, all of them looking at the enemies in all directions in fear. In the past, there were only 30 to 50,000 immortals who attacked their Demon Realm encampment, and the most recent one only had 100,000 people, and they didn't last long before being defeated. However, it was different this time. This time, the number of enemies was simply incalculable. From the side of the enchantment to the horizon, there were people everywhere. There were huge nether beasts and agile immortal beasts mixed in with a vast number of people. In just a short span of 100 breaths, they had been surrounded so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Although the enchantment around them was personally set up by the leader of the true Demon Realm, seeing the enemy's fierce attacks, they believed that the enchantment would not be able to hold on for more than half an incense stick of time. Such a sudden change made many spirit demons unable to adapt. Immortal, devil, nether? Su Yun, you dare to offend me? The demon lord swept a glance at the surroundings before he furiously roared in a voice that resounded through the clouds. So you know me. A figure leaped out from the vast army. It was a man in a black robe, holding a sword in one hand. His hood was pulled down so low that only half of his pale face could be seen. He stood in the air as if he was standing on top of the clouds, looking down at the countless demons. A powerful pressure gushed down from his body like a huge wave. The demons below found it hard to breathe. However, when Mu Tian and the others saw this person, they were shocked. Especially Mu. Her eyes were wide open as she looked at the person in the sky in disbelief. That person? Su Yun? Is it really him? Mu muttered. Although she hadn't seen Su Yun for so many years, her memories of this person were still very clear. Thinking back to the past, Mu would always gnash her teeth. But now, this person was leading so many experts and had even become a supreme expert whose name shook the immortal world. As for her, she was still the princess of the demon realm. It was just that in the past, she looked down on Su Yun from a high and mighty position, but now that Su Yun was at the peak of his strength, killing her would not take much effort. This meeting gave Mu an intense feeling. She didn't even dare to face this reality. However, the demon lord spoke, his voice shaking the heavens. Su Yun, you dare to attack the immortal court. You truly have guts. However, you only attacked the immortal court because you took advantage of the chief judge's absence to run rampant for a while. Do you really think that you can cover the sky with one hand? Then what do you think I can do with my hand? You can't do anything. In a while, I'll personally break your hand. The demon lord was arrogant. Hearing that, Su Yun shook his head slightly. He glanced at the demon lord and said indifferently, I don't know what benefits the immortal court has bestowed upon you to be worthy of you working for the immortal court, but I know that you are on the wrong side this time. If you do this, you will only send your true demon realm to its grave. I will give you a chance now. If you put your weapons into the sheds, I will not kill you. You want us to surrender? When the demon lord heard this, he laughed out loud. His laughter was dull like thunder on a cloudy day. You're thinking too much. You think you can make our true demon realm surrender? For motley crew. If you have the ability, then come. It was obvious that the demon lord did not put Su Yun in his eyes at all. The truth was as such. Although Su Yun had won against the celestial court consecutively, Su Yun had never fought against the celestial court head-on in every battle. Against the celestial court, he had only escaped. The only time he had won was when he relied on Ling Qing Yu's strength. The demon lord seemed to be aware of this, and was naturally disdainful towards Su Yun. Hearing that, Su Yun's expression turned cold. He held onto the dual moon sword and slowly flew towards the demon lord. At the same time he moved, the countless immortal, nether, and demon armies also began to move. Everyone gathered their spells and raised their swords high, preparing to attack. Seeing that, the demon lord also waved his hand, indicating that he was ready to attack. The army was like a flood, rushing towards the true demon realm's army. Just like that, the frontal assault began, but it did not seem sloppy. Just as Su Yun was about to approach the spirit demon's enchantment, his skin suddenly turned red, his eyes suffused with a red light, devil chi soaring into the sky. He suddenly raised his sword and swung it forward. A ray of sword chi rushed out from the blade of the sword. The sword chi was incomparably huge, at least 3,000 meters long. It was like a world-shocking wave as it ruthlessly smashed towards the enchantment. Clang! When the sword chi struck the enchantment instantly shattered like glass and collapsed to the ground. The moment the enchantment shattered, countless spells flew towards the spirit demon realm. Following that, a black smoke rushed in and appeared in front of the demon lord in a split second. So fast. However, the demon lord was not worried. He raised both of his hands, and a trident appeared in his palms. The halberd let out a clanging sound as a cold sword pressed down on top of it. The trident did not move at all. Is that all you have? The demon lord stared at Su Yun, who was surrounded by devil chi, and said coldly, I haven't used my strength yet. Su Yun raised his other hand and fiercely slapped the hilt of the dual moon sword. Bang! When the palm landed, The enormous power passed through the support of the dual moon sword and directly acted on the trident. The demon lord's body instantly fell down. Like a meteor, he crashed into the encampment below. The entire encampment's floor instantly cracked, and the surrounding spirit demons were all killed. He crawled up in a sorry state and stared at Su Yun, who was above. His expression became serious, and his dark green eyes squinted. True demon transformation. He bellowed, and the spirit demon chi around his body blossomed like a flower, spreading out in all directions. The spirit demon chi became even denser. Su Yun lowered his body and thrust his sword forward towards the demon lord. The demon lord was not to be outdone. He raised the trident with both hands and struck towards Su Yun. But at the moment he struck the trident, the surrounding spirit demon chi also released a large number of spirit demon shadows to attack Su Yun. Every single spirit demon shadows might did not lose to the main body. Su Yun's attack was blocked. A total of 8 spirit demon shadows coordinated with the main body to launch a ferocious attack on Su Yun. Every single spirit demon shadow's attack speed was heaven-defying, almost surpassing the speed of light. However, compared to Su Yun, they were still lacking. Su Yun did not lose to anyone. Activating the divine wind sword technique, with his current cultivation combined with the incomparably swift sword technique, the sword images were almost unable to be caught by the demon lord. Even if it was in terms of quantity, it was unable to reduce the disparity in speed. The demon images were all destroyed, and it was difficult for the main body to resist. True demon second transformation. The demon lord did not dare to be careless and immediately shouted. Dense spirit demon chi spewed out from his body once again. This spirit demon chi turned into an armor and attached to his body. The twin moon swords slashed forward and struck the spirit demon chi armor, but did not shatter it. On the contrary, the armor seemed to be tough and sank half an inch, then fiercely bounced back. The twin moon swords received a huge impact and flew back with Su Yun's arm. The demon lord seized the opportunity and smashed his trident towards Su Yun's chest. The trident tore through the air like a roaring dragon. It smashed over, causing the surrounding people to be sent flying by the might of this attack. Clang! The sharp trident fiercely pierced into Su Yun's chest. However, even though the attack was extremely ferocious, it was still unable to pierce through Su Yun's chest. The dense spirit demon chi on the trident was also dispersed. The demon lord's expression changed slightly. He never thought that this fellow's ferocity would reach such an extent. It was completely out of his expectations. Su Yun took the opportunity to extend his hand and grab the trident. At the same time, his body moved forward and approached the demon lord. The Saint Domain battle robe on his body activated and released his god power, frantically absorbing the demon lord's spirit demon chi. The dense spirit demon chi rushed into Su Yun's body like a spring. The demon lord anxiously used his strength to force Su Yun back, but he realized that his strength could not compare to this unknown fellow. Mistransformation. The demon lord bellowed. His body suddenly turned into a dark green smoke and fled into the distance. Then, he returned to his original appearance. However, in that short period of time, Su Yun had actually used the Saint Domain battle robe's god power to absorb 30% of his spirit demon chi. Damn it! The demon lord was enraged. Holding onto the trident with both hands, he roared again and again. True demon third transformation. True demon fourth transformation. True demon fifth transformation. After shouting 3 transformations, the demon technique was unleashed. In an instant, the sky darkened and a gigantic demon chi appeared in the sky. In that instant, the surrounding immortal chi, devil chi, and nether chi were instantly enveloped by the dense spirit demon chi. Su Yun stared at the demon lord, only to see that his body was gradually vaporizing. In the end, he actually disappeared. The spirit demon chi had already become the main melody of the sky. Chapter 1373. The demon lord's body did not disappear, but fused into the sky full of demonic chi, Following that, the gigantic demonic figure in the sky gradually transformed into the demon lord's appearance. The demonic chi was like a heavenly god opening a dam that blocked the sky. The demonic chi was like a flood that smashed down fiercely. The immortal devil underworld cultivators that were attacking the spirit demons all had difficulty walking. Everyone felt as if they were being blocked by something. Their movements were extremely inconvenient, and there seemed to be something pressing down on their backs, making it extremely difficult. Just like that, his aura was released. Suyin looked at the demon lord. Not only was the demon lord's aura strong, his strength had increased by at least 5 times compared to before. How terrifying was the demon lord's cultivation? Doubling it was already shocking, but increasing it by 5 times was simply unimaginable. Today, I will personally crush you. He let out a roar as he controlled the gigantic arm to stretch out towards the clouds. Within the clouds, a gigantic trident appeared. This trident was completely enveloped by demonic chi, causing it to appear hazy. However, it contained a terrifying killing force that could crush the souls of those who saw it. Su Yun frowned, but did not retreat. Holding onto the dual moon sword, he rushed towards the demon lord. The demonic chi was like a blade blowing towards him, but he did not seem to be obstructed and continued to move forward. Demon break, the demon lord shouted. Bang, 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 bang. Suddenly, 5 intense explosions came out from Su Yun's surroundings, as though the air had exploded, but when Su Yun wanted to move, he realized that he was unable to move at all. It turned out that the 5 explosions that came out from his body were not to injure him, but to control him. After the surrounding space exploded, 5 dark green vortexes appeared, and a circle of suction force overflowed from the vortexes. Su Yun wanted to escape the encirclement of the vortexes, but he realized that it was difficult for him to escape the suction force, much less rush out. Ha 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 ha! Just then, waves of sharp laughter came out from the vortex. Following that, dark green claws came out from the vortex, grabbing onto Su Yun's limbs. Seeing that, the demon lord grabbed onto the trident with both of his huge arms and fiercely thrusted towards Su Yun. Su Yun's expression turned cold. He immediately activated the Saint Domain battle robe, wanting to absorb the demonic energy around him. But unexpectedly, the Saint Domain battle robe's divine power was unable to eliminate the 5 vortexes. This vortex was actually formed with divine power. It's over. The demon lord's voice resounded and rows of demonic runes lit up on the trident. In that instant, the trident burst forth with an earth-shattering power that seemed capable of reconstructing the universe. After being hit by this attack, even with the strength of Su Yun's physical body, it would be difficult for him to hold on. His expression changed drastically, and he immediately let go of the twin moon swords in his hands. God power wrapped around the twin moon swords, and he forcefully rushed out of the suction force of the whirlpool and flew towards the trident. Limitless sword arts. The demon lord seemed to have sensed a trace of profundity in the imperial sword technique. That's not all, Su Yun suddenly said. Dang! The twin moon swords collided with the trident. Although the twin moon swords were controlled by divine power and were very powerful, after rushing out of the vortex, they had used up a lot of their collision power. When they hit the trident again, they could not do much. Not to mention stopping it, they could not even change the trajectory of its attack. However, Su Yun remained calm and composed, as though his intention was not to block the demon lord's attack. The demon lord felt that something was wrong, but Su Yun was already being controlled, and his attack had already been unleashed, so how could he have any intention of stopping? At this critical moment, a strong sword intent suddenly wrapped around him, followed by a flash of sword light and a burst of killing intent. The demon lord was shocked. Before he could react, his huge body was struck by countless sword images, and his entire body flipped to the side. Bang! Bang! The demon lord fell to the ground and raised his demon eyes to look up. He saw that above him, there were countless sword images that covered the sky. These sword images were endless, and there were a lot of them. They covered the sky, and in the middle of the sword images stood a handsome man. Limitless sword ancestor. The demon lord let out a sorrowful roar. This mournful roar seemed to be venting something, narrating something. Night demon. How long has it been since we last met? The sword ancestor said indifferently. 50,000 years. A whole 50,000 years. The demon lord's expression became abnormally agitated. The demonic chi in his body also became chaotic, as though he had received some sort of stimulation. Su Yun struggled out of the whirlpool, and upon seeing this scene, he guessed that the sword ancestor and the demon lord had some sort of grudge in the past. However, Su Yun did not care about the grudge between the sword ancestor and the demon lord. What he needed to do now was to kill the demon lord. Su Yun leaped up into the sky and slashed at the demon lord. The dual moon sword released a heaven-splitting sword image that struck towards the demon lord's head. Demon break. The demon lord wanted to use the same trick to trap Su Yun, but how could Su Yun fall for it again? He immediately increased his speed and dodged the explosion. In an instant, he appeared in front of the demon lord and slashed with his sword. Bang! Before the demon lord could stand up, he was once again struck to the ground. He injected a dense amount of god power into the dual moon sword and then swung his hand. The dual moon sword seemed to have a mind of its own and started to slash towards the demon lord crazily. The demon lord anxiously activated his demonic technique again, only to see the demonic chi on his head split open on its own, and a dark green bead floated out. The bead continued to flicker, releasing a strange light. Su Yun, be careful. Don't fight it head-on. Quickly dodge. When the sword ancestor saw the bead, he immediately shouted, "Whiz!" The twin moon swords flew quickly, intending to attack the bead. However, the bead suddenly shot out a ray of light, shining on the twin moon swords. In that instant, the twin moon swords that were as fast as light suddenly slowed down, as if they were fixed in midair. However, if one looked carefully, they could see that the twin moon swords were still flying forward bit by bit. However, their speed had been reduced to the limit. This slow was no different from being fixed. Was a magic treasure that could completely destroy a person's speed? Su Yun's eyes congealed. The sword ancestor activated the limitless sword arts, and a large number of sword images fell like rain, smashing towards the demon lord. However, the bead continued to release light, and with a casual sweep, all the sword images were frozen in midair. The demon lord seemed to be unsatisfied, and immediately shook his head. The light released by the bead was like the sunlight overflowing from the blazing sun, instantly illuminating the entire world. Everyone on the battlefield was slowed down to the extreme. Even swords, spells, and even explosions were slowed down to the extreme. Su Yun hastily dodged and barely dodged. When he regained his senses, he realized that his surroundings were completely silent. The entire fiery battlefield seemed to have been frozen, and even sound could not be heard. Terrifying. What kind of spell was this? Su Yun frowned and looked to his left and right. He realized that even Qin Qianlong, Xing Bai, and the rest were not spared. Only the sword ancestor and the flame saint demon were spared. Although the Nether Empress could control nether beasts, her own strength was not strong, and she was also slowed down. Seeing that, Su Yun's expression turned cold, and he rushed towards the demon lord again. Naturally, the demon lord did not hold back, and the strange green light shot towards him again. But at this moment, Su Yun was on guard. At the moment when the light ray was about to reach him, he unleashed his star-picking hand and grabbed onto the demon lord's trident. In an instant, he appeared beside the demon lord, causing the green light ray to miss. What a fast speed! What treasure is that? Even the sword ancestor did not have time to react to Su Yun's move. The demon lord sensed Su Yun's movements and anxiously twisted his neck, turning the bead around, intending to use the light to shine again. But at this moment, a terrifying gust of wind blew over and directly blew his huge body up, and the bead was unable to adjust its position. Flowing feather mystic sovereign fan. The sword ancestor hurriedly retreated to avoid being attacked by the gust of wind. Even the president could not ignore this gust of wind, let alone the demon lord. Suyin took the opportunity to rush forward, and with the dual moon swords in his hands, he aimed at the bead and stabbed it. In a breath of time, tens of thousands of sword images fiercely struck the bead. The demon lord let out a mournful roar. The demonic chi on his body scattered. The bead shattered, releasing a clanging sound, and very quickly, with a dong sound, it exploded. The bead was destroyed, the Dharma idol was broken, and those who were illuminated by the light all recovered. Suyin took advantage of the victory and attacked the demon lord again. The demon lord had nowhere to retreat and could only brandish the trident to fight with Suyin. The situation seemed to be under Suyin's control. The gigantic halberd looked heavy, but it was swung like the wind by the demon lord. The demonic chi scattered, the void trembled, and the sword images overlapped. Both sides fought until the sky was dark, and the sword ancestor, who was watching from the side, could not bear to join in the battle. In this battle, regardless of whether Suyin won or lost, his concept and comprehension would definitely increase. Facing Suyin's storm-like attacks, as well as his dense and astonishing chi, the demon lord was actually unable to hold on. He heaved a sigh of relief, and suddenly his body twitched. Following that, all the demonic chi in his body shot out, and like a flood dragon, it shot towards Suyin and quickly bound him tightly. The trident once again took advantage of the situation to strike. But to Suyin, the demonic chi was equivalent to nourishment. Every time it got close, it would be completely absorbed by him. Suyin broke free from the demonic chi that was like a flood dragon. With a leap, he stepped on the halberd and rushed towards the demon lord. As he flew, his body released a circle of dense gray light, as though something was trying to break free from his body. The sword ancestor was stunned. Suyin took a step forward and threw away the twin moon sword in his hands. His mouth quickly chanted a series of strange and awkward spell, and in an instant, a large fog exploded, covering the sky. The demon lord was shocked and retreated a few steps. In a split second, he sensed that Suyin's chi had suddenly disappeared, and replacing it was an even more tyrannical and powerful chi, which appeared in the fog. He opened his dark green demon eyes wide and looked at the fog. He could vaguely see a black hole-like mouth descending from the sky and swallowing his body. "Tao, Ta!" the demon lord roared. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. It was too close. The Tao Tai descended from the sky like a pagoda, its big mouth directly covering the demon lord's body, completely swallowing him. Chapter 1374. After devouring the demon lord, the Tao Ye's body grew by his size. Furthermore, a dense demonic aura began to seep out from its skin. However, not long after, huge bubbles began to form on the Tao Ye's body. Occasionally, they would appear and disappear, as if there was some sort of gas frantically attacking the inside of the Tao Tai. Tao Tai fell to the ground, letting out a roar that was unknown whether it was pain or anger, and the aura around his body was overflowing more and more. Seeing that, Sword Ancestor anxiously rushed over and landed on Tao Tai's body. He formed a palm with one hand and struck Tao Tai's body, and a large amount of sword chi poured into Tao Tai's body from his palm. This continued for a while before the strange phenomenon on Tao Ye's body gradually subsided. When the demon lord was eaten, the people of the true demon realm were all trembling in fear. Their morale plummeted, and they no longer had any fighting spirit. Furthermore, with a mighty figure like the Fire Saint Demon present, the people of the true demon realm would not be able to resist at all. With the help of Sword Ancestor, Suyin had completely digested the demon lord and seized a lot of his cultivation. His realm had already started to move towards the peak spirit god realm. He regained his human form after a while. However, his face was pale, and his blood-red eyes were filled with thick demonic flames, which made him look especially magical. The demon lord was defeated, and the people of the demon realm began to retreat. However, they had already fallen into a heavy encirclement, So how could they retreat, even if they wanted to? Under the siege of the Sword Ancestor, the Queen of the Nether, the fiery Saint Demon, the divine Eagle Clan leader, and many other experts, the people of the true demon realm kept dying. The battle had turned into a one-sided massacre. If this continued, the people of the true demon realm would definitely be destroyed. Stop! Stop! We surrender. Right at this moment, a resounding cry resounded through the skies. Suyin looked at the spirit demon realm people. There were only 1,000,000 of them. The ground was littered with spirit demon realm corpses. The encampment was almost destroyed. The spirit demon realm people had no way to defend, and without an expert to lead them, they had completely collapsed. Suyin was not surprised to hear that they had surrendered. However, what Suyin did not expect was the following voice. Everyone, why are you afraid of him? At worst, we'll just die in battle. But if we surrender, these immortal devils won't let us go. After all, they've come this time for the sake of annihilating us. Hearing that voice, Su Yun looked over, and in his line of sight, a few familiar faces appeared. Isn't this Demon Emperor and Princess Mui? Su Yun looked at the people from the demon realm who were gathered together, and a strange smile surfaced on his face. It's been a long time since we parted ways in the Sky Martial Continent. Su Yun, if you want to kill us, then hurry up. If you want to humiliate me, then save your strength. Mu clenched her teeth and said angrily, I will not be humiliated by you even if I die. That's not right. Su Yun shook his head. In truth, I have no enmity with your demon realm. It's just that you have interfered in the battle between me and the Immortal Court for no reason, and helped the Immortal Court, becoming the Immortal Court's pawns, so I have no choice but to make a move on your demon realm. I don't know what benefits the Immortal Court has promised you, but I think that no matter what benefits the Immortal Court has given you, you will not be able to enjoy them, because if you interfere in the matters of the Immortal Realm, you will only be able to bury your true demon realm. I'm not saying that I, Su Yun, will destroy your true demon realm. I'm just saying that the current Immortal Court cannot protect you. This was indeed the truth. The Immortal Court would not easily use the trump card of the true demon realm. And when it was used, it was only when the Immortal Court was in a critical situation, otherwise which immortal would be willing to have a relationship with the demon Dao. Furthermore, he had already sent out several groups of people to ask for help, but there was still no sign of the Immortal Court. What you said is indeed correct, but there are some things that we can't help ourselves. The Demon Lord has dominated the true demon realm for many years and has completely suppressed its true demon 5 transformations. But he said that after the true demon 5 transformations, there is actually another transformation. If we do not comprehend this transformation, with just the 5 transformations, we will not be considered strong. And if we can learn the remaining transformation, we will be able to turn the sky into clouds, blow air to destroy mountains, reverse the universe, reverse yin and yang, and achieve an unworldly Tao. The Demon Lord has searched bitterly for many years and discovered that the Immortal Court has an item that can help him. It is called the Reincarnation Stone, and it is in the hands of the Immortal Court. The Demon Lord believes that he cannot defeat the Immortal Court, so he negotiated with him, hoping to exchange for the Reincarnation Stone. The Demon Emperor continued, Reincarnation Stone. Su Yun frowned, but he had never heard of it. It is said that it can break through all bottlenecks and forcefully drag people into a stronger realm. There's actually such a treasure? He was shocked for a moment. However, the Sword Ancestor shook his head. It is impossible for such a thing to exist. Everything in the world has its own Tao, and if one does not follow the Tao, it will only cause chaos in the world and destroy one's fate. If I'm not wrong, this treasure called the Reincarnation Stone does not exist at all. The Immortal Court is just deceiving your Demon Lord and using him to obediently work for the Immortal Court. We do not know the truth of the matter, but the Demon Lord is the supreme being of the true demon realm. Whether it is the people of the true demon realm or our demon realm, we must obey his orders. The Demon Emperor took a deep breath and said, Then are you still willing to follow the Demon Lord's orders and continue to serve the Immortal Court? Su Yun asked, Although the Demon Lord is dead, if we do not continue to serve the Immortal Court, the immortal court will definitely hate us. It will be easy for them to destroy our demon realm. The demon emperor shook his head. Although he had not been in the immortal world for long, he still had some understanding of the immortal court. Hearing that, Su Yun secretly snorted and said, "If the immortal court can destroy you, then I can't." With this snort, his power was released, causing the spirit demon cultivators to tremble. The demon emperor retreated a few steps, and Princess Mu Yi's face was pale white, looking at Su Yun in fear. This was the difference in cultivation. The demon emperor panted with all his might. He knew that the person in front of him was definitely not weaker than the demon lord. Especially after he devoured the demon lord, his strength had probably increased by quite a bit. Lord Su Yun, the current person, is already covering the sky with one hand. If he wants to destroy my spirit demon Dao, it will naturally be easy. If Lord Su Yun is willing, our spirit demon Dao is willing to follow Lord Su Yun and destroy the immortal court. The demon emperor quickly said. Although his cultivation was not as strong as the people of the true demon realm, his intelligence was not weaker than anyone else's. He naturally understood the meaning behind Su Yun's words. From today onwards, the spirit demon realm will directly obey me. Any decision will have to be approved by me, and you're not allowed to disobey my orders. Do you understand? Su Yun said indifferently. Yes. Now assemble the army. In 6 hours, head to the current encampment of the immortal court. Su Yun said, then waved his hand, indicating for everyone to take away a portion of the spirit demon's attack magic treasure, leaving only a portion of the magic treasure to defend themselves. Although this made the spirit demon people dissatisfied, as the losers, they had already unconditionally made a request to Su Yun. In an instant, the silent army moved again. However, this time, it was to announce the defeat of the spirit demon Dao. With the demon lord killed, the spirit demon Dao naturally had no ability to resist. After Su Yun devoured the demon lord, he could not wait to find a quiet place to meditate and recuperate. He felt that his body was swelling up, and it was extremely uncomfortable. Su Yun, do you really trust these spirit demon people like that? The people of the spirit demon Dao are fickle. If they can immediately surrender and betray the immortal court, they might even stab us in the back in the future. Just then, a voice floated into Su Yun's ears, followed by an extremely hot wave of heat blowing towards him. Su Yun didn't need to turn around to know who it was. I've considered what Senior said, but if we don't use the spirit demon people now, what should we do? Kill them all? That will cause the spirit demon people to resist to the death. This way, it will definitely delay our surprise attack on the immortal court. The faster we attack the immortal court, the better. Take advantage of the fact that the immortal court has yet to recover and completely extinguish them. Otherwise, if we want to take action again, it will be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Su Yun said indifferently. And if we release these spirit demon people back to the spirit demon realm, I am worried that they will still have contact with the immortal court. If we're fighting with the immortal court and they come back, what should we do? Therefore, the best way is to let them follow us to attack the immortal court. I have already asked Wei Ming to spy on the loyalty of the commanders of the spirit demon realm. In front of the great exquisite technique, any of their thoughts will be seen through, so there is no need to worry. As these words fell, the flame saint demon's doubts were dispelled. Instead of worrying about the spirit demon, why don't you worry about yourself? Su Yun, you have devoured the spirit demon lord and accumulated an astonishing amount of power in your body. Although this power will increase your strength by quite a bit, you'll have to fight with the immortal court later. If you can't digest this power during the fight, the immortal court will detonate this power of yours, and you'll probably die. Not even your soul will be left. Another voice floated over from the side. It was the sword ancestor. The flame saint demon glanced at the sword ancestor and said, "Hey, you're the limitless sword ancestor, right? I have heard this kid talk about you often. You seem to be quite powerful." The flame saint demon, the great demon of the world, to be able to see your glory, this trip is truly not in vain. The sword ancestor laughed. Although the Sword Ancestor had been with Su Yun for more than a day or two, the Flame Saint Demon had always lived in seclusion. He liked to cultivate alone in a high-temperature area and rarely interacted with others. The only time he met the Sword Ancestor was after the expedition, and it was rare for the Sword Ancestor to talk to him. However, the Flame Saint Demon seemed to be rather cold towards creatures other than demons. He turned his head and said to Su Yun, "Kid, what that guy said makes sense. You must get rid of the spirit demon chi in your body. If you don't get rid of it, you will not be able to participate in the fight with the Immortal Court, or else you will die." "Then what should I do?" Su Yun asked, puzzled. "Two choices, either digest it or spit it out," the Flame Saint Demon said. Chapter 1375. Digest. Su Yun frowned. "Of course I can't digest it in such a short period of time. As for spitting out, I can consider it, but if I spit it out, I'm afraid there will be a lot of demonic aura. Won't it affect me? The Demon Lord's demon soul is already destroyed, and it can't resist in your body. It can only obediently be digested by you, but if you spit it out, as long as it isn't absorbed by others, it will definitely be able to recover in a short period of time. So, if you don't want to have any future troubles, you should immediately kill it after spitting it out, even though it's a bit of a waste," the Sword Ancestor said. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded. The Demon Lord's demon soul could give Su Yun a lot of benefits. Such a thing could be said to be the only one in the entire immortal world, and its value surpassed any treasure. After all, there was only one Demon Lord. Why spit it out? This is a great benefit. It's much better than those pills. Isn't there still time? Su Yun, why don't you forcefully absorb the Demon Lord's demon soul and increase your power? Isn't that better? At this time, the Flame Saint Demon said. Su Yun looked at him strangely. "Senior, do you have any way to help me absorb this soul?" "Of course there is a way, but you need a few experts to cooperate with you, and it's hard to say if it will succeed, but no matter what, I still think it's better to give it a try. If it succeeds, isn't it better than wasting it like this?" The Flame Saint Demon said. The Sword Ancestor frowned. He raised his head to look at him and asked, "What you're talking about? Is it a technique to borrow power?" "A technique to borrow power?" Su Yun asked in confusion. "Master Ancestor, what technique are you talking about?" "It's a technique that completely adds a person's cultivation to another person's body for a short period of time," the Sword Ancestor said indifferently. This Flame Saint Demon means to gather the cultivation of a few supreme expert and infuse them all into your body, allowing you to forcefully absorb the power of the Demon Lord's demon soul with your profound strength. One must know that a person's cultivation also determines the speed at which they obtain power. The reason why it's difficult for you to digest the Demon Lord's demon soul is because your strength is not enough to control this power. However, if you use this technique, your strength will be pulled apart from this power, and it will be easy for you to absorb this power. But what? Su Yun asked. The Sword Master hesitated for a moment, then said, "It's just that this method is also risky, because once you inject too much energy, it will affect you, and your body will not be able to bear such a huge amount of energy. Once you inject too much energy, you will be seriously injured, and if you are serious, you will die, and your cultivation will be completely crippled." Hey, are we idiots of time? If the situation doesn't look right, he definitely won't continue using the technique. As long as we control it well, this method will definitely work, the Holy Fire Demon insisted. Sword Ancestor frowned. He was silent for a moment, then asked Su Yun, "Su Yun, this matter still depends on you, although there's a risk, but it is not big. It is just that, if the amount we use is too little, I am afraid you will not be able to completely absorb the demon soul's power." "Don't worry, Grandmaster. In a situation like this, I will never complain about having too much power. On the path of pursuing power, there will never be a lack of obstacles and dangers. Since Senior Saint Demon said that he can control it, there is no need to worry. Is there anything that Grandmaster is worried about?" "That's not it." "Well, if that's the case, then it's decided. In such a short period of time, it's not enough for you to absorb the Demon Lord's demon soul with just me and the Holy Demon. Invite the Divine Eagle Clan leader over," the Sword Master said after thinking for a while. "All right, Su Yun nodded his head and immediately ordered someone to inform the divine Eagle Race Patriarch. Knowing that, the divine Eagle Race Patriarch was surprised, but since Su Yun had already made his decision, he was willing to help. The sword master took out a piece of yellow paper from somewhere and flew to an empty cloud. He spread out the yellow paper and placed it on the ground. Su Yun looked at the paper, only to see that it was filled with a large number of sharp swords. Although it did not look good, every sword had a peculiar sharp feeling. This is a sword array? Su Yun looked at the waxy yellow paper for a while, and finally smelled something different and asked in surprise. Yes, the sword ancestor said indifferently. I casually drew this for protection. Let's start in the sword formation. All right, everyone, enter the formation, the sword ancestor said. The divine Eagle Race Patriarch and the holy demon nodded and walked in. When the four of them entered the formation, the sword formation immediately activated, and the paper immediately shattered into 1,000 pieces, spreading out in all directions. And when each sword spread out, they all turned into a bright sword, floating around the four of them. The sword was like a star, turning the surroundings into a bright, starry sky. Seeing that, Yang Zi, Mu Yi, and the rest who were in the distance all looked at it in shock, feeling that it was extremely breathtaking. Su Yun sat cross-legged on the ground. The flame holy demon, the divine Eagle Race Patriarch, and the sword ancestor sat around him in a triangular formation. The three of them extended their palms and pressed them on Su Yun's body. It seemed that all three of them knew how to borrow power, and they were well aware of the pros and cons. But this was extremely crucial. If they lacked Su Yun's power, it would be extremely troublesome to fight against the immortal court. After pressing their palms on it, the three of them simultaneously chanted a series of incantations. The incantation rippled through the heaven and earth, lingering back and forth, and finally entered Su Yun's ears, like the chanting of a Buddha. Su Yun closed his eyes, and according to the sword ancestor's instructions, he stopped the immortal qi in his immortal eyes, opened his immortal meridian, and released all of the qi in his body, welcoming everyone's power. Very quickly, the power of the three of them began to surge into his body. However, this was not an ordinary power. The influx of these three powers were all source energy, and on the chests of the three of them, there was a bright light floating, one red, one blue, and one white. They were like round beads, and as the three of them continued to activate their power, they began to follow their palms and rush into Su Yun's body. Just as the three balls of light touched Su Yun's body, Su Yun's face suddenly twisted, and he let out a mournful roar. Pain, endless pain. This was pain that came from the soul, an intense pain that no one could suppress. He felt as if his soul had been thrown into the 18th level of hell, suffering from torture. His consciousness also began to tremble violently, as if he would faint at any time. Su Yun, this is normal. Our power isn't used on your body, but on your soul. That's why you feel this pain, as if your soul is being torn apart. But you have to hold on. From now on, your power will increase crazily. Within 100 breaths, 80% of our power will be used on your body. You need to quickly digest the demon lord's demon soul. Faster. The sword ancestor's anxious voice sounded. Hearing that, Su Yun did not dare be careless. He clenched his teeth, endured the urge to faint, and started to circulate the qi in his body, rushing towards the demon lord's demon soul that filled his internal organs. The moment he activated his qi, it caused his heart to palpitate. What was this feeling? Power. What kind of abundant power was this? What kind of powerful power was this? This feeling was simply infatuating. However, Su Yun knew that this was just a flash in the pan. The existence of this power was only to help him better digest the demon soul. He quickly continued to urge his qi towards the demon soul. The demon soul was torn apart by the qi and gradually split apart. As for Su Yun himself, his skin started to release a large amount of dark green qi. The qi soared into the sky, dyeing the sky green. Seeing that, the spirit demons that were forced to surrender all looked up. Great demon? Has a great demon been born? What's with that qi? The spirit demons were all puzzled, not knowing the reason. This scene lasted for a full 2 hours. At the moment, Su Yun's face was pale white. He was sweating profusely. His face was distorted, but he was still bitterly persevering. The amount of demon qi that was leaking out had slowly decreased, but his skin had also started to show bright red cracks. The divine Eagle Lord's eyes flickered with a strange light. Through the cracks, he could clearly see all the changes in Su Yun's body. He can't take it anymore. His body can't take it anymore. We should stop immediately and withdraw our power. The divine Eagle Lord shouted in a low voice. All right. The other two nodded and were about to stop. But at this moment, Su Yun also shouted, "Wait." He spoke with great difficulty, and his voice became hoarse, as if his throat would be broken in a moment. Hold on a little longer. Su Yun breathed frantically. The qi leaking out of his body was getting lesser and lesser, but the cracks on his body were getting bigger and bigger. Persevere? How long could he hold on? Su Yun's willpower was enough, but the strength of his willpower did not mean that his body was strong. Su Yun, if this goes on, your fleshly body will be destroyed. Sword Ancestor shouted in a low voice. At that moment, he could no longer maintain his composure, and his voice was filled with anxiety. I can still hold on a little longer. No, you can't do this, or else a single mistake will cause eternal sorrow. The Flame Saint Demon did not seem to support Su Yun to continue, and immediately began to withdraw his power. The three of them had reached a consensus, and it was no longer up to Su Yun. The three waves of energy that were lingering in Su Yun's body began to withdraw, and Su Yun's pain became even more intense. However, when the three of them withdrew their power, they were surprised to find that it was much more difficult to withdraw their power than usual. After careful inspection, they realized that Su Yun was actually using his own qi to force the undigested demon qi in his body towards the three of them, intending to rely on the power of the four of them to completely destroy the demon soul. The demon soul was crazily leaking out, but it was all absorbed by Su Yun. Compared to before, the speed was many times faster. This phenomenon caused the three of them to be stunned. This was completely opportunistic, too reckless. The divine Eagle Lord shook his head. But it's very effective, isn't it? Sword Ancestor could not help but laugh. Chapter 1376. After about half an incense stick of time, the three powers were finally completely withdrawn by the three of them, and Su Yun's body also stopped overflowing with demonic qi at this moment. The cracks on his skin were already thicker than his hair. The three of them retracted their palms and heaved a sigh of relief, while Su Yun seemed to have lost his support and collapsed to the ground. Master! Xiang Yang and the others rushed over from afar and shouted anxiously. There's no need to worry. He needs to rest. Prepare some top-quality elixirs. With the strength of his physical body and his self-healing ability, he'll be able to fully recover in a few hours. His strength might even be a level higher than before. What you need to do is to ensure that no one disturbs him while he's resting. The Sword Ancestor removed the sword formation that was protecting the four of them and said indifferently, "Yes." Xiang Yang nodded and hurriedly instructed the people beside him. Not long after, 100-man team of Immortal-seeking sect disciples were dispatched, and Su Yun was protected by this 100-man team. These 100 people were all Devil Cultivator-s and were extremely loyal. After resting for 2 hours, the army continued to advance. We have already wasted a lot of time. If we go over like this and meet the Immortal Court, do you think we can win? On the way, Xingbai was a little nervous. Why worry? The strength of the Lord of the Divine Eagle race is not inferior to the Immortal Court's chief, and he can contend against him. With the help of the Sword Ancestor, who is famous throughout the 10,000 worlds, and the help of the ancient Great Devil Holy Devil Lord, this time, it will be the end of the Immortal Court's chief. Qin Qianlong said with a trace of excitement in his voice. Qin Qianlong was a warmonger. Although he looked very calm on the surface, everyone realized that he was actually more thirsty for power than Xingbai. He thirsted for more experience and enlightenment in battle. Whether it was the Holy Devil Flame or the Divine Eagle race, they were all experts at the peak of the immortal world. Normally, they could not even look at them, but now they could fight side by side. How could they not be excited? You're right, but all three of them are at a disadvantage. The clan leader of the Divine Eagle clan is indeed powerful, and he's one of the top figures in the immortal world. However, I heard that he fought with the Immortal Court when they attacked the Divine Eagle Mountain last time. He was injured in that battle, and when he retreated, he met Sword God Yi Xiao of the Immortal Court. Even though he managed to defeat Sword God Yi Xiao, his injuries worsened. The Divine Eagle clan suffered a great loss in that battle, and they didn't gain any advantage at all. I wonder how his injuries are doing after such a long time. As for the Sword Ancestor and Lord Saint Devil, both of them have not cultivated for many years because of the calamity. Even though their strength has recovered to its peak, the situation today is not the same as before. Xing Bai said carefully. With that said, Qin Qianlong seemed to have been splashed with a bucket of cold water and became completely silent. In fact, it was not only Xing Bai who was worried. Many immortals were also extremely nervous. After all, they were facing the former overlord of the immortal world, the highest authority in the immortal world. No one dared to provoke them, and no one dared to provoke them. Many of the immortals in Su Yun's group had personally witnessed the methods of the immortal court, and in their hearts, there was already a shadow of the immortal court. Was such an unparalleled expert really someone these people could overthrow? Could these people really do it? The battle hasn't even started yet, and you're already so afraid? Then this operation will definitely fail. I don't think you guys should go, lest you lose your lives for nothing. Just then, a low shout came out. Qin Qianlong and Xing Bai were startled. They looked towards the source of the voice, only to see Wei Ming flying over. Wei Ming's face was gloomy. He looked at the two of them with dissatisfaction, and his words were merciless. The two of you are so afraid. How can you accomplish great things? If you follow the Lord, you will become a burden in the future. Elder Wei Ming, you can't say that. We are just stating the facts. But we have no way out. Don't you understand? As matters stand, if we don't destroy the Immortal Court, we will only be destroyed by the Immortal Court, and the Immortal Court will not allow us to exist. If we do not take advantage of this last chance to destroy the Immortal Court, when they catch their breath and regroup, we will not be able to resist them. Do you still want to live under the tyrannical rule of the Immortal Court? Look at the current immortal world. We have no other choice but to fight. Wei Ming was a little agitated as he spoke. Qin Qianlong and Xing Bai were silent. Wei Ming was right. There was no way out for them. The Immortal Court, who had grasped the fortune-telling technique, was equivalent to having an eye above their heads. If they did not destroy it, even if they could escape now, they would not be able to escape tomorrow. The army continued to advance. The Eagle Men of the Divine Eagle clan continued to linger around the army. After advancing for an hour, the army's speed immediately slowed down. Master, we are already close to the Immortal Court's territory, and there should be more and more spies in front of us. If we enter their territory and get rid of the spies, they will not be able to contact the Immortal Court in time, and will be detected by them. If that's the case, we will lose the initiative. A Divine Eagle clan member flew over and spoke to the Sword Ancestor, the Flame Saint Demon, and the Divine Eagle clan leader. Everyone turned to look at the Divine Eagle clan leader. The clan leader nodded his head and looked towards Su Yun. It should be about time, right? It's about time. A slightly lazy voice came out. Su Yun, who was in the 100-man team, slowly sat up. He stretched as though he had just woken up. He patted the cloak on his body and walked out from the crowd with his sword. How do you feel, kid? The Flame Saint Demon laughed. Much better than before. It seems like it's about time. Let's begin. The Sword Ancestor said. The Divine Eagle clan leader nodded his head and waved his hand at the Divine Eagle clan member. The man immediately stood up, spread his wings and flew, releasing a series of loud and clear cries. More than half of the Divine Eagle clan members that were sent out flew back. They circled around the army, and waves of light wind blew. The army began to advance, and everyone's chi was forcefully retracted. Those who had difficulty retracting their chi were arranged to the back of the army and slowly advanced. The divine Eagle Clan leader soared into the sky and landed in the sky. His body immediately transformed, and in the blink of an eye, a majestic eagle that covered the sky appeared in the sky. His majestic figure immediately covered the people here. Seeing that, Su Yin took a deep breath. Everyone gathered together and increased their speed. At this moment, the divine Eagle Clan leader flapped his huge wings. The wings moved slowly, and waves of air currents blew towards these people. The air currents were not very strong, but they were like large hands that pushed these people forward. Their speed had also increased by a lot. Although the army was huge, it was like a gust of wind. The army seemed to be riding the wind, their speed extremely fast. Along the way, the spies that they met didn't even have the time to sound the alarm before they were drowned by the army and torn to shreds. The Devil Dwellers were fearless. They took the lead and charged to the very front. Su Yin raised his sword and led the Devil Cultivator army, rushing forward with killing intent. Finally, a vast expanse of clouds appeared in everyone's line of sight. Dense, immortal chi rippled on the cloud ground. Su Yun's eyes were wide open as he looked at the cloud ground. The gale from the divine Eagle Clan leader's side caused the people at the edge of the cloud ground to sway, making it difficult for them to stand steadily. The guards in front of the cloud ground finally saw the incomparably fast lightning army and hurriedly sounded the alarm. A bright red spell flew into the sky and quickly exploded, transforming into countless bolts of lightning that flashed chaotically in the sky. The entire temporary encampment of the Immortal Court was immediately in an uproar. Countless shouts sounded out from the encampment, and the immortals rushed out in panic. They originally wanted to face the enemy, but the scene in front of them completely stunned them. There were countless enemies that covered the sky and covered the earth. There were devils, immortals, demons, and nether beings. Their auras converged together and turned into primal chaos. Their killing intent seemed to have condensed into a substance, fiercely enveloping them. What was going on? Looking at the army that was like a flood, they could not believe their eyes. Fight! Fight! The enemy is attacking. The enemy is attacking. Roars reverberated between heaven and earth. The original garrison of the Immortal Court was the first to rush out, but the immortals that were forcefully taken in by the Immortal Court were already frozen in place and had long forgotten to move. What the hell is going on? These guys, where did these guys come from? What are they going to do? Panicked voices rang out incessantly. However, the cruel reality would not give them too much time to think. The enemy troops rushed over like a flood and drowned them. The battle was about to begin. Su Yun raised his sword and rushed towards the center of the Immortal Court's encampment. He only had one target, the Immortal Court's chief judge. Where was he? Where was he? Su Yun's eyes were blood red. His killing intent was awe-inspiring. He rushed in all directions. The divine Eagle Lord, the Flame Saint Demon, and the Sword Ancestor followed closely behind. The surrounding immortals were not within their consideration. They had to capture the leader first, and only by wiping out the Immortal Court would they be able to end all of this. So just then, a series of sword chi shot towards Su Yun like a rain of swords. Su Yun anxiously activated the Saint Regent Battle Robe to defend. But the moment he activated the god power of the Saint Regent Battle Robe, he was surprised to discover that the sword chi was actually condensed from god power. However, his movements were not slow either. His gale-like reaction speed drove his arms to swing several times. And with the support of the double moon sword, his brute force displayed an astonishing destructive power. When the sword chi approached him, they were all destroyed by the sword images, leaving not a single one behind. After the sword chi was shattered, Su Yun stopped and stared at a slender figure that appeared in front of him. That person was wearing a sword robe and stood in the air with his arms crossed over his chest. He looked at the people coming over with a confident and natural expression. The corner of his mouth raised into a confident smile. The sword god smiled. Chapter 1377. Everyone has come from afar and should be guests. How can you be so rude and start fighting? Shouldn't we have a good talk about it? The sword god smiled. He looked at Su Yun and the rest and said, His words were full of smiles. Although there were millions of troops in front of him, he turned a blind eye to them. Was this arrogance? No, this was confidence. Talk about what? Talk about the laws of the immortal court? Su Yin said indifferently. You have ignored the laws of the immortal court, and have already seriously violated the rules of the immortal court. What's the use of talking about the laws of the immortal court with you? Since that's the case, why do you think we are guests? Su Yin said again. Hearing that, the sword god frowned, but quickly smiled again. All right. I can't beat you, so let's not talk about this. Let's begin. He raised his hand, and the slender sword glowed with a bright red light. A baleful aura that wanted to dye the world red shot out from the sword tip. Good sword. The sword ancestor's eyes shone with a golden light, and he could not help but praise. The sword ancestor's limitless sword art is famous throughout the myriad realms, but I wonder if it is stronger or weaker than my outer heaven god sword art. The sword god smiled. His gaze turned and stared at the sword ancestor, his expression becoming fiery hot. Who is strong and who is weak? Won't we know after a competition? The sword god smiled. Back then, we had interacted with each other, but due to various reasons, we were unable to fight. Today, we will fight to our heart's content. I believe no one will be able to disturb us. With his hands behind his back, the sword ancestor flew to the front and looked down on the sword god. Su Yin knew that the sword ancestor wanted to fight with the sword god, so he nodded and said, Master Ancestor, since that's the case, then you can stall the sword god. We will go and find the immortal court. Be careful, the sword ancestor said solemnly. Take care, Master Ancestor. Su Yin nodded and immediately rushed towards the sword god. The sword god did not stop him. He knew that he alone would not be able to stop so many experts. Furthermore, the sword ancestor would not let him stop Su Yin and the rest. But it didn't matter. He believed that these people wouldn't be able to do anything to the grand immortal judge. Plus, his biggest interest wasn't to kill these people, but to have a good fight with the legendary limitless sword ancestor. He wanted to see who was the strongest sword in the immortal realm. Looking at the person in front of him, Yishao felt as though the blood in his body was boiling. How many years had it been since he last felt this kind of palpitating feeling? He didn't know. The flame saint demon and the divine eagle patriarch leaped over the sword god's smile and continued forward. The sword god smiled, then turned around and charged towards sword ancestor. The two most powerful swordsmen of the myriad worlds finally clashed today. The sword ancestor formed a hand seal with one hand. The finger sword released a bright sword chi, directly facing Yi Zhao's bright red sword. Dang! The two swords collided, and the sky darkened. It was as if there was only sword chi left in the world. Passing by the sword god Yi Zhao, Su Yin continued to advance forward. There were more and more people from the immortal court here, densely packed, but with the flapping of the divine eagle patriarch's wings, the strong wind blew nonstop, and all the immortals fell to the side, unable to get close to Su Yin and the rest. The three of them were unobstructed, but not long after, the three of them stopped at the same time. An imposing aura blocked their advance. In front of the three of them, a strong light appeared. The light was dazzling, directly shining in their direction. In the colorful light, there seemed to be a figure faintly moving in their direction. There was a strange melody that could captivate one's mind, rippling in everyone's ears, heart, and soul. If one's soul was not strong, they would have already been bewitched. It's the grand immortal judge, the divine eagle patriarch said. He retracted his wings, and a pearl that was surrounded by blue wind appeared out of nowhere. Su Yin looked. It was the nine-god wind heavenly pearl. He did not expect the divine eagle patriarch to bring this treasure. In order to get rid of the immortal court, the divine eagle patriarch did not hide anything. The flame saint demon did not have any treasures. Seeing that the target had appeared, it took a few steps forward. Its rock-like body expanded by 3 times, and the flames on its body became stronger. Su Yin tightened his grip on the hilt of the dual moon sword and used all the strength in his body. This time, without Ling Qingyu's help, without the protection of the sword sheath, he only had the sword in his hand. No one knew the outcome of this battle. The figure in the holy light slowly moved to 1,000 meters in front of them and stopped. The light gradually weakened, and the figure became clearer. The three of them looked towards the figure, only to see that the figure was also sizing them up. The publicly acknowledged strongest existence in the immortal world, who knew if there were any other terrifying people hidden in the immortal world, but without a doubt, even if there were hidden experts against the immortal court, they would not be able to gain an advantage. His strength had long broken through the shackles of cultivation. This sovereign's divination technique cannot be used continuously, so I did not expect you to come. I truly did not expect this sovereign actually underestimated you, to actually come here and attack my immortal court. The immortal court's voice came out slowly. You bastard, you actually dared to attack our true devil realm, causing countless of our devil cultivators to die. You are truly despicable. Today, I will personally twist your head off, swallow your soul, and let you forever suffer the pain of being burned by the raging fire in my body. The flame saint demon immediately shouted, his voice also carrying a terrifying temperature, swinging towards the light figure. With the immortal court's strength, the temperature naturally could not affect him. Immortal court, you rely on your strength to prey on the people of the immortal world, tormenting my divine eagle clan. Today, I will destroy you, to resolve the haze of the immortal world, and return peace to the immortal world. The divine eagle patriarch could not help but shout. The divine eagle clan did not have many people, but because of the immortal court, more than half of them had died. How could he not want to take revenge? Return peace to the immortal world? The light figure moved slightly, and the mysterious voice floated out. This should be said by this sovereign, you have violated the laws of the immortal court, and even trampled on the laws of the immortal court, causing chaos in the immortal world, causing the lives of the immortal world to be plunged into misery and suffering, and countless immortals have lost their lives. Today, if I do not eradicate all of you, how can the immortal world be peaceful? This is probably the best joke I've ever heard. Su Yun replied indifferently. The divine eagle patriarch's face was expressionless, but the flame saint demon laughed a few times, even though the laughter was fake and unpleasant to hear. There's no use in talking. I'll let you all experience the cruelty of the immortal court's loss. The immortal court was too lazy to waste any more words with Su Yun and the others, and directly drove the light figure towards the three of them. His movements were still very slow. It was the walking speed of an ordinary person. This kind of speed, Su Yun was at least tens of thousands of times faster. However, just as Su Yun wanted to move, he saw that his body was suddenly unable to move. This is the great slow physiognomy. The divine eagle clan patriarch seemed to have sensed something and exclaimed in surprise. Invisibly, he had cast a divine technique on the three of them, almost undetectable. Moreover, the power of this technique was simply unimaginable. However, at this moment, the flame saint demon suddenly roared, and a fire dragon suddenly shot out from his body, striking towards the light figure that was walking over. The light figure stopped, and with a wave of his hand, the fire dragon dissipated, but the shackles on the three of them were also dispelled. The flame saint demon took the opportunity to strike again, and suddenly, a ring of flames that looked like a metal chain appeared around his body. As his body moved, the metal chain shot towards the light figure. But the seemingly ferocious flame chain did not hit the light figure, but went straight through it. What? The flame saint demon was stunned. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the space around him suddenly split open. Following that, a huge iron fist fiercely smashed into his body, and the flame saint demon's body flew out. The void along the way was crushed by the power of his body, and he landed fiercely on the ground below, rolling a few times before stopping. And when he stood up, the flames on his body had completely disappeared. The flame saint demon's heart jumped. He stood up and looked towards the great immortal sect, only to see that the light figure had extended out a fist. The fist was still in midair. The tip of the fist was filled with scorching flames, as though it wanted to burn the fist, but at this moment, the flames on the fist had all entered the fist and disappeared. Seeing this, the three of them understood that the great immortal sect could absorb everyone's chi at any time, anywhere. Su Yun took a deep breath, raised his sword, and rushed towards the great immortal sect. His speed was astonishing, as though he was not inferior to the great immortal sect. The double moon sword was like the most cunning and most vicious poisonous snake, slashing towards the neck of the light figure. You want to kill me with just this? What a joke. The great immortal sect coldly snorted, his body suddenly releasing a circle of chi. The double moon sword that was slicing towards him was immediately jolted away. But in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Su Yun's palm came from the side and directly struck the great immortal sect's body. His body was immediately blasted back. He flew back a few dozen meters, stopped, and looked around, only to see that the layer of chi cover protecting his body had been blasted open, and around the big hole, there was still god power lingering. It turned out that Su Yun had forcefully gathered the god power of the Saint Domain battle robe in his hands, and broke through his defense. However, although the palm had forced the great immortal sect back, it did not seem to injure him much. The great immortal sect wiped his hand on the protective chi cover, and the broken chi cover immediately recovered. The strength of this person could be seen at a glance. Let's attack together, the god Eagle Patriarch shouted. All right. The flame Saint Demon nodded, and the three of them immediately rushed forward. Are you bullying me with numbers? However, the great immortal sect was not afraid at all, and let out a faint laugh. However, it's quite interesting. With that said, his body released a large amount of light. Following that, a large number of arms suddenly sprouted out from his shoulders, a total of 8 arms. When the three of them rushed over, the 8 arms quickly moved, and the palms overlapped, as though they were accumulating some kind of incredible technique. Be careful, the god Eagle Patriarch shouted. It was too late. Su Yun's eyes congealed. He stared at the great immortal sect whose chi was getting stronger and stronger. He suddenly raised his hand and grabbed towards the great immortal sect. Jai Kong, Bada. He instantly appeared in front of the great immortal sect, and the double moon sword fiercely slashed towards his arm. Chapter 1378. Amidst the misty green mountains, the sounds of birds chirping came from the forest. From afar, melodious bell sounds came from the ancient temple. One by one, the green-robed monks walked up the moss-covered long steps. And not far from the ancient temple, on a mountain peak, there was a grass hut that was meticulously repaired. This mountain peak was called the Fairy Peak. It was a famous mountain peak in the circumference of 100 miles. It was rumored that there lived a fairy on the mountain peak. She did not eat the food of the mortal world and was extremely beautiful. She had existed on the mountain peak for many years. It was said that she was waiting for someone, but after so many years, no one came to find her. There were many cultivators who thought that they were strong and wanted to go up the mountain peak to look like a fairy. But all of them were beaten back, and some of them even had their cultivations destroyed and ended up in a miserable state. After a long time, no one dared to casually step into the Fairy Peak, and it was classified as a forbidden area. In front of the grass hut on the Fairy Peak stood a green-robed lady. She was extremely beautiful, like a lotus flower out of the water. Her hair was like ink, her eyebrows were like moths, her skin was like cream, her eyes were like stars, and her body was like a delicate orchid. From top to bottom, her temperament was refined, and there was not a single flaw. Everyone who saw her could not help but sigh. There was actually such a person in the world. It was simply unbelievable. She stood at the peak of the mountain and gazed into the distance. That beautiful little face of hers was filled with worry. Behind her, a gigantic dark brown sword sheath was stabbed into the ground. On the sword sheath, there were simple and unadorned lines, and an indescribable chi leaked out from inside. Just then, waves of light aura leaked out from the sword sheath. Following that, a figure appeared behind the green-robed lady. The figure behind her was also a lady. She looked at the person standing at the side of the mountain and was silent. After a long while, she slowly said, "Xianli, you don't have to worry about anything." But Xianli did not say anything. She continued to look forward, and after a while, she slowly said, "How many years have I been here? I have forgotten myself. I have personally witnessed the prosperity of the Immortal Sword sect, and I have personally witnessed the changes of the world. All these years, I have been cultivating my mind here. I want to abandon the 7 emotions and 6 desires in my heart, because that way, it will not make me feel pain." Her voice was unusually soft, like the sound of a cool breeze rustling the tender grass. Ling Qing, you was silent. You told me not to worry, so why didn't you help her? Instead, you accepted his arrangements and let him send you here. Long Xianli slowly turned around, her bright eyes looking at her. I had no choice. Ling Qing, you shook her head and sighed. The battle he is participating in is much stronger than I imagined, and if I were to go, I'm afraid it will only cause more trouble. She did not go into too much detail, but Long Xianli seemed to have guessed something and did not ask too much. Instead, she turned and walked towards the thatched hut. How much longer do you want to stay here? Ling Qing, you asked anxiously. Long Xianli's figure stopped, but she did not turn around. The two experienced a brief moment of silence. At this moment, the sound of the breeze and falling leaves seemed to be especially noisy. I have no intention of leaving. A faintly discernible voice floated out, and the person had already entered the room. Boom! A shocking explosion rang out in the vast sky. An eagle that blotted out the sky could be seen soaring in the sky. It flapped its huge wings, and the clouds in the surroundings all collapsed and shattered. The wind was like blades that blew endlessly, causing the world to lose color and the sun and moon to lose their light. But very quickly, the dusky sky was shrouded by a rainbow light, only to see a blurry figure scuttling up, punching the eagle. Bang! The eagle's huge body was directly smashed down, and at the place where it was smashed, a circle of Tai Chi yin-yang diagram appeared. In between the diagram, the power of chaos overflowed. The eagle let out a loud cry, trying its best to control its body, but the figure followed up with another attack, wanting to launch another attack. But before the figure could get close to the eagle, it was shot down by a meteor. It was the Flame Saint Demon. Its huge body directly hugged the light figure. Following that, the flaming rock body automatically extended, immediately wrapping around the light figure's body, turning him into a statue, the flames still burning on the rock. With a bang sound, the rock exploded, and the light figure used brute force to send the Flame Saint Demon flying. Raging fire burns the heavens. The Flame Saint Demon was not to be outdone. It opened its mouth wide and spat at the light figure. Countless bright red flames flew out of its mouth, directly hitting the light figure. The light figure casually waved its hand, and the flames collapsed, but scattered into countless finger-sized fragments. These fragments did not fall down, but instead flew in the opposite direction, rapidly rising into the sky, in the blink of an eye igniting the entire sky, easily dispelling the attack. This method seemed to be telling the surrounding people that it was not in existence on the same level as these people. The light figure raised its head, frowning as it looked at the sky. In the sky that was ignited, a huge face of a demon appeared. The demon stared at the light, and then with a whoosh, a huge fist of fire smashed down. Boom! The light figure was hit by the flaming fist, and a huge explosion sounded. A circle of ripples completely formed by fire spread out. Its body fell down as if it could not control itself. The Flame Saint Demon cast its technique again and heard it raise its head and roar again. Immediately, an even bigger fist rose from the ground, directly smashing down, the flames also coming from nowhere. The light figure's body flew up like a ping-pong ball, and in the sky, a huge palm stretched out, slapping down. Bang, 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 bang. Just like that, its body was hit by the huge flaming palms and fists, and every time it collided, it would cause an extremely violent explosion. After a round, the entire sky was filled with flames like a sea of fire. The Divine Eagle clan leader removed his original state, and landed beside Su Yun, the two of them using their techniques to resist the flames, and, at the same time, looked towards the immortal court judge. The flame saint demon panted slightly, retracted its technique, and looked towards the sea of fire. Not long after, the sea of flames gradually extinguished and the sky turned black. However, the surroundings became silent, and everyone looked towards the center of the sea of flames. However, to their extreme disappointment, a figure gradually appeared at the center of the sea of flames. It was the figure of the immortal court judge. Gradually, the figure released a halo of light again, and the dark sky was once again illuminated. Through the intense light, everyone could feel that the Flame Saint Demon series of attacks did not seem to have caused much damage to the immortal court judge, and his aura did not seem to be suppressed by much. How is this possible? The divine Eagle Clan leader was stunned, although he was not the one being attacked. From the Flame Saint Demon's ferocious attacks, he could feel the terrifying power. If all the power had landed on his body, he believed that he would have been heavily injured and would not be like the immortal court judge, who was unaffected. How strong was his physical body, and how terrifying was his power to be able to ignore it like that. Although the divine Eagle Clan leader's name was known throughout the entire immortal world, and he was the leader of the immortal world, but compared to the immortal court judge, he was still lacking. Damn it. The Flame Saint Demon was even more enraged and was extremely unwilling. Just how tough is this guy's body? How can it not be destroyed? The Eagle Clan leader said solemnly, "Your methods are still too weak." The light figure spoke again. The Flame Saint Demon is an ancient great demon, the ancestor of the demons, but you unexpectedly disappeared for hundreds of thousands of years, and the people outside even thought that you were dead. Although I do not know what happened to you in this period of time, but I am guessing that this period of time must have been a period of time for you. If not, you would not only have this strength. You dare to look down on me. The Flame Saint Demon was enraged by the immortal court judge's words. The flames around his body erupted, and he rushed forward. He raised his huge fist and crazily attacked the immortal court judge. The stone fist was like a flaming meteor, continuously smashing onto the immortal court judge's body. Bang, 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 bang. A series of explosions sounded out, but the immortal court judge, faced with such a fierce attack, did not move at all. It could not hurt him at all. It could not even break through his defense. Su Yun's face tensed up. Could it be that to break through the immortal court judge's defense and kill him, he could only rely on the ominous sword? In such a huge immortal world, was there no treasure that could hurt him? Wind wound. At this moment, the divine Eagle Clan leader suddenly shouted and used some unknown technique, only to see a light blue ripple appear on his body and directly attack the Flame Saint Demon. The ripple crashed onto the Flame Saint Demon's body and was completely absorbed, only to hear a poochie sound. The fist that was originally useless against the immortal court judge suddenly broke through the immortal court judge's skin. When the fist landed, a clear fist mark appeared on the immortal court judge's body, and fresh blood flowed out. The immortal court judge was shocked. The Flame Saint Demon was also stunned, and Su Yun was in disbelief. What's going on? The Flame Saint Demon clearly did not understand, but at this time, how could he stop? The fist that was attacking the immortal court judge became even more ferocious. The immortal court judge clearly could not hold on any longer and immediately retreated, increasing the distance between him and the Flame Saint Demon. The Flame Saint Demon's speed could not keep up with his and was quickly shaken off. So that's how it is. The divine Eagle Clan leader truly lives up to his name. This technique can actually hurt me. The immortal court judge glanced at the Flame Saint Demon and quickly understood everything. This was the divine Eagle Clan leader's technique. Within that mystical aura, the sharpness of the wind seemed to be maximized. With this kind of destructive power, there was probably nothing in the immortal world that could not be cut open. Hurt you? I can still kill you. The divine Eagle Clan leader bellowed, and then blasted a technique towards Su Yun. In an instant, Su Yun's body also overflowed with layers of blue light. Very good. Su Yun raised his head and under the cloak, his pale face revealed a sinister smile. The immortal court judge frowned, clearly feeling that something was wrong. With such a terrifying technique on Su Yun's body, the situation was not normal. Chapter 1379. The cold light attacked at an extremely fast speed. Countless bolts of lightning shot out from the void and surrounded the light figure. The light figure waved its arms, wanting to block, but as soon as it raised its arms, it was struck by lightning. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere, and blood that emitted a rainbow-colored light splattered into the air. This bolt of lightning was Su Yun. After devouring the demon lord, his cultivation had increased once again. He was now on the same level as the holy demon fire and the divine eagle clan leader. Especially his speed, it was not inferior to the divine eagle clan leader at all. Facing the three of them, the great immortal judge could not care about Su Yun at all. With the support of the eagle clan leader's strange technique, Su Yun and the holy demon fire were able to easily break through the great immortal judge's body, completely ignoring his defense. The great immortal judge was gradually at a disadvantage. Although he quickly waved his hands, Su Yun and the holy demon fire's crazy attacks made it difficult for him to defend. The few big hands were all chopped off, and more blood sprayed out. If this continued, the great immortal judge would definitely lose. Seeing the great immortal judge in such a state, the three of them were overjoyed. Although they had yet to defeat him, the three of them saw hope. At the very least, the great immortal judge was not an invincible existence. Very quickly, the great immortal judge's entire body was covered in his blood that was emitting a faint rainbow-colored light. There was not a single piece of intact flesh on his body, making him look extremely miserable. However, what made Su Yun more concerned was that his chi did not weaken in the slightest, as though all of this was just an illusion. This kind of attack was probably not enough. Su Yun's eyes congealed. He suddenly rushed towards the great immortal judge. With a move of his finger, the limitless sword arts was unleashed. His body spewed out countless sharp chi, and without exception, all of these chi turned into chi swords, all of them piercing towards the great immortal judge. Tens of millions of chi swords converged at one point. This was to kill the great immortal judge. However, at this critical moment, the great immortal judge also unleashed his true strength. A long howl that tore through the sky sounded out. Following that, the great immortal judge's body released a boundless divine light. A wave of divine power dispersed like a cloud. The chi swords that were flying towards the great immortal judge were immediately absorbed when they came into contact with the divine power. Not only that, the holy devil fire and Su Yun were also submerged. Their entire body strength was being frantically absorbed. The two of them were alarmed and quickly retreated. When they were out of the range of Grand Judge Immortal's divine power, they discovered that nearly 30% of their auras had been sucked away. The two of them had only been in the divine power for a few breaths of time. In such a short period of time, so much of their aura had been sucked away. If they had stayed inside for more than 10 breaths of time, perhaps the outcome of this battle would have been decided. Su Yun's face congealed. The divine power of the great immortal court had not only extracted a portion of their spirit chi, but also the technique that the divine eagle race leader had cast earlier. In this way, the divine eagle clan leader's immortal technique could no longer be used. I didn't expect the three of you to be so capable. I've underestimated you. The great immortal judge was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he stood in place and looked at the three of them indifferently. In the dazzling light, the blurry figure seemed to be somewhat lazy. His pair of dim eyes did not seem to have much interest, as if these people were just clowns that could barely trouble him. At this moment, a scene that shocked the three of them happened again. The divine power surrounding the great immortal judge suddenly flowed into his body, forming a layer of light yellow, transparent armor on his skin. After the armor was attached, the wounds on his body instantly healed, and he was as good as new. The holy devil fire was angry. But even so, he did not have the slightest intention of giving up. Without another word, he raised his fist and rushed forward again. "Senior, don't be rash," Su Yun shouted anxiously. However, The holy devil fire stubbornly refused to listen. He raised his fist and punched towards the great immortal judge. On his huge fist, bright red lines flashed on his 5 fingers. The fist shattered countless void, shattered the surrounding clouds, and shook the entire sky. The sky once again returned to its fiery red color. What shocked Su Yun and the Divine Eagle Clan leader even more was that the divine power around the great immortal judge's body was directly dispersed after the punch. What a terrifying punch. Even with Su Yun's current physical strength, he would not be able to take this punch. However, the great immortal judge did not dodge. He simply turned around and looked at the incoming fist. He did not move at all. Only 2 rays of light, one black and one white, flickered on his shoulders. Bang! The holy devil fire's fist landed solidly on the great immortal judge's chest. Was there any effect? Su Yun and the Divine Eagle Clan leader opened their eyes wide as they looked over. However, an unexpected scene appeared. The holy devil fire's fist smashed onto the great immortal judge's body. After the 2 of them fell into an extremely strange silence, they heard a series of explosions. However, the explosion did not come from the great immortal judge's body. Instead, it came from the holy devil fire's body. In the blink of an eye, he was engulfed by the destructive ripples produced by the explosion. His rock-like body immediately split open, and a large number of broken corpses flew everywhere. Flames scattered everywhere, and the holy devil fire's chi was like a collapsing mountain, crazily descending. How is this possible? Su Yun and the Divine Eagle Clan leader could not believe what they were seeing. The great immortal judge had clearly not made a move, but the holy devil fire had suffered a heavy injury. The result was the complete opposite. The holy devil fire's body was sent flying and fell down. Seeing that, Su Yun flashed to the side of the holy devil fire and used his chi to hold him back. His chest was in tatters, and there was not a single part of his body that was intact. His aura was extremely weak, as though he could die at any moment. But very quickly, he raised his hand with all his might and pushed Su Yun away. "I'm fine," the holy devil fire said weakly. "Senior, what's going on?" "Your injuries." It was as if the holy devil fire had punched himself, because Su Yun could not feel the slightest bit of god power. That guy seems to have some kind of strange spell that can transfer any damage inflicted on his body to the attacker. I'm very clear about my own injuries. This was clearly caused by my punch just now. The holy devil fire gritted his teeth as he spoke, and the scattered stones around him all gathered towards his body. His aura began to rise again, and the broken parts began to heal. Seeing that, Su Yun felt that it was strange. The holy devil fire seemed to be recovering. After about 3 breaths of time, he was as good as new. "Senior, you're all right?" Su Yun was surprised. "I just used my life-saving treasure, the Nirvana Divine Stone. I was careless in that attack just now, and let that bastard break my origin energy and directly cripple me. Fortunately, I placed my treasure in my heart, and as long as I self-destruct my stone heart, I can use the impact of the stone heart to activate this magic treasure, allowing my body to recover to its peak state." The holy devil fire explained. "So that's how it is. No one has ever made me in such a sorry state before." The holy devil fire had suffered a huge loss, but not only was there no fear on his face, he was even more furious, and his eyes were spitting fire. He had a violent temper, and even if his opponent was the high and mighty Grand Judge Immortal, he was not afraid in the slightest. "No one has ever made me so happy before." The Grand Judge Immortal seemed to be mocking him. He raised his hand and hooked his finger at the holy devil fire and said indifferently, "Come, continue to make me happy. Let me see what else you have to show." "Bastard." The holy devil fire could not hold it in any longer and was about to rush forward. Su Yun's face changed and anxiously stopped him. "Don't be rash. The holy devil fire had just suffered such a huge loss. Why didn't he dodge and instead rush forward?" The Grand Judge Immortal would not be courteous to his enemies, seeing that Su Yun had stopped the holy devil fire and revealed an opening. He immediately flashed and completely teleported in front of Su Yun and the holy devil fire. Following that, a wave of god power enveloped the two of them. And at the same time, a large number of chi claws came from all directions, grabbing towards Su Yun and the holy devil fire, sealing off their path of retreat. Following that, he formed palms with both hands and fiercely struck towards Su Yun's body. Death move. Just now, he was as motionless as the wind, as if he was acting, but now, it was as if the entire world was involved. This palm strike ruthlessly smashed onto Su Yun's body. Su Yun's entire body trembled, and immediately after, he turned into a grayish-white color, and his body shattered, turning into millions of pieces that disappeared with the wind. Su Yun, the holy devil fire roared. But at this critical moment, the chi claws from all directions grabbed onto his body, completely imprisoning him. The Grand Judge Immortal took the opportunity to slap his head again. Crack! Bang! The holy devil fire's rock body exploded once again, turning into rubble that splattered everywhere. The two of them did not even have their souls spilled out and were immediately slapped to death. This was a complete instant kill. Just how strong was the Grand Judge Immortal? It was simply inconceivable. It was too easy. The Grand Judge Immortal was a little surprised. He did not have much hope for this palm strike, and was only here to test Su Yun's methods. However, he never would have thought that Su Yun would actually be hit by this palm, and even die. No. The Grand Judge Immortal suddenly thought of something and turned his head, only to see that his surroundings were empty. There was nothing. Where was the divine Eagle Clan leader? What was he doing? That's not right. All of this seems to be... The Grand Judge Immortal fell silent, as if he had guessed something. Although things seemed to be going very smoothly and naturally, it seemed as if something was missing unknowingly. He was very sensitive and felt that everything was extremely strange. But at this moment, his body suddenly shattered, and a sword pierced through his back. The sword chi was like a devil's claw, tearing at his body. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.